about this one there, Fluke? More references, under references. Our maps are ready, so let's take a look at how this best of 3 will be shaping up for this final game of the evening. Ban, first from Rogue, Cafe and Villa removed, Clubhouse Consulate picked by both Rogue and then BDS, Coastline, Theme Park removed, and Oregon is left in the end. I mean, yeah, we've seen these maps. They work out well usually. So overall, let's look at the entire ban phase. Does it favor one team or the other?
It's hard to call because we talked about ban phases for Rogue in their matchup and we said this is a great one. We also talked about the map for BDS on theirs being a great one, and neither of them were able to show up to the level of the maps that were expected from them. Don't get me wrong, there was a couple of misnomers in there, like Theme Park for BDS, which was a kind of unknown factor. But at the same time, you know, it's two teams that it's less about the maps, it's more about them stepping up today.
I think at least the start of things there was reasonably predictable. Would you want to go back to Cafe if you were Rogue after what happened in match number 1? Absolutely no. Insta-ban from them, no surprises. We know that BDS are going to ban Villa out, and then Rogue wanting to take Clubhouse, given that that's a map they've already been successful on so far today. No major surprises there, but what I will guarantee is on these 3 maps, we are going to have fireworks because we've already seen great performances out of both teams on these maps. This is going to be, for me, the closest outcome of the day.
Yep, I completely agree that Consulate as map 2 and starting with Clubhouse makes a lot of sense. Let's see how that will go. First of all, social predictions. Let's see what you guys picked to win this final game. It's a close one. Whoa, 53 to Rogue, 47 to BDS. Understandable as well. The Germans and the French going up against one another today. Wow, so close, but my good king and queen, let's take a look at what all of us think about this game. Let's go. Let's bring it up. Graphic with everybody. Whoa. There you go. I saw you all. BDS for Dez and Ace. Wow. Okay.
Mate, joint at the hip, joint in predictions. Go figure.
Why?
Go on.
Go.
She's like, I'll hold up here.
Someone do something.
I mean, for me, I looked at BDS and I just think that from what we've seen so far, we had flashes from Rogue, but other than a map that BDS haven't really played on and obviously aren't comfortable on, they looked very good on Consulate. They look dangerous at times, and I think they are coming into this fresher. They're straight in there. They've just played. They're going to be coming in fairly hot, and I think they're going to bring some thunder against Rogue here.
My reason was grab a coin, flip it. There's your result.
I mean, fair enough.
It's literally a coin flip.
That's how Kix and I predicted LATAM. We literally flipped the coin on stream. Yeah, we did.
Oh, Tim's fuming.
I let my dog pick, just like Derek did.
Oh man, you know the thing is, Milos, you are now soaking up the dad disapproval from Tim. His little gentle head shake. It wasn't a really loud vocal one like this. It was just a wry smile and no.
There's going to be a conversation after this, young man.
I mean, look, 3 years of casting LATAM have told me that they have improved immensely starting off with this. So Ace has definitely been, taking the best of it with Jackie. I can tell you that much. But
LATAM are his babies. You can't insult.
That's how it is nowadays. All right, guys.
Great, thanks, Milos. Jenna's crying in the chat.
I mean, at this point, even Natura can be crying in the chat. He's the NIP fanboy, and she's the Liquid fangirl, so completely understandable. Sorry, guys. I love you so much, Natura and Jenna. That said, let's start off with our game. Final match of this evening, best of 3 series, BDS and Rogue. Only one team can move forward. Map 1 is right ahead of us. Enjoy.
We'll try our very best, Milos, I promise. Absolutely promise. Hey, UK Massive back once again. Gio, ready for
Slightly
a big game.
UK Massive.
A different kind of UK Massive, but you were straight in there and you were like, Consulate, yes, and I was like, Clubhouse, yes.
Yes.
So basically,
In our
we've got
DMs.
lucky with these first 2 maps, and of course, 2 incredible teams who we've seen play so far today, not managed to come out the best in their fixtures, but Big man Leon on the left, looking across to the right. This is going to be a huge fixture. I'm not sure who's going to take it. I meant it when I said it's a coin flip. Both teams have had strengths and weaknesses today. Inconsistency is the biggest problem I've seen on both teams, and heaven knows what we're going to get on this first map.
Yeah, and it's obviously very representative in the way that the viewer predictions have gone basically 50-50, even between you and I. And I tweeted this, that you and I have voted for different teams, and I feel very sorry for who you voted for, because so far you've been cursing everything. So what we can discern from this is that Rogue are going to win.
I am coin flip to the T. I've got one right today and one wrong. Therefore, we're in a pretty good spot. It's all good.
So what you're saying is Jacob's more cursed than you?
Does Jacob get both wrong?
I don't know. I just know that in general, Jacob's pretty cursed.
If Jacob turned around and said BDS, one, I'm not surprised, but two,
BDS takes it.
He's fighting me for the chairman spot of the club that we formed recently. If you get all of your predictions wrong, you can apply for membership on Twitter. That's one for later. We're into bans. Maverick going to kick things off. Thatcher normally follows through here, but it's going to be the Capitao coming out of Rogue.
Yeah, having the Thatcher still online, but we did talk about this earlier on, is how Rogue do like to ban out the Capitao on this map, something that we saw them do earlier on. It's something that we've seen them do in the season. And as we move on to the defenders, no surprises that Echo is going to find himself off the board.
You know, almost interestingly, this is following to the exact letter how bans went last time round these guys played on this map. It was way long ago and in a completely different world, it feels like, to today. It was back on January 15th of this year. The bans that came through were Maverick, Capitao, Mira, and Echo. Shock horror, BDS have now changed over to banning away the Wamai instead, so that's going to be the slight variation. Otherwise, things are as they were before. And if you're curious, back then it was a 6-6. It was a different Rogue roster, but history has a horrible tendency of repeating itself. I'm curious to see which team goes home, which one stays in the major, which one gets a second chance tomorrow.
Yeah, it was a bit different. Obviously, when these two teams played one another in EUL, the map that they played on was Oregon, so different type of map. And if we do go to our third map, then we will be seeing a repeat of that once again. But as you say, it has been some time since these two teams have played this map against each other, and even then, slightly different rosters. We've seen big improvements come out from, I think it's fair to say, both of these teams since then. BDS obviously ended up in the 6th Invitational. Don't know if you knew that, Derry. I think you missed the event.
I think I did, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you know,
can't contribute to this conversation.
It happens. And obviously, Rogue had a pretty consistent and impressive showing in stage 1 of the EUL. But what we saw earlier on is it wasn't enough when it came to going up against Virtus Pro. And now this is the series where they've really got to prove themselves and claw onto the sides and bring themselves up over the edge of the cliff, because it got way too close for comfort.
10 seconds to go.
It did, and to me, we've already seen Rogue playing on this today. We've already seen the sort of vibe they bring to the forum. For BDS, I'm looking at the operator lineup they've got. I'm looking at the site run. I'm looking at how they're setting up. This is almost identical to the game that I watched back of when they last played on it. They love playing with Maestro. They love the Bandit and they love the Goyo. They ran it on every single site that they went to, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that become a staple. The big issue there is Rogue, if they've also watched back those games, and they've been very vocal about the work that Arkuth, one of their analysts, has done previously. His counter-analysis was the key to beating BDS in the, I believe it was 5th week of the EUL season, when they absolutely dismantled them on Oregon. So in my mind, if they've sat here and put the hard yards in, expecting a fixture like this at some point, this will only come back to pay absolute dividends for them.
Well, Rogue did pretty well on their clubhouse defense last time, a little bit different on the attack, as it was kind of mixed results there. One of the big things we need to be looking out for is Aces. He was one of those key players that we wanted to watch for last time. But one of the problems was Rogue kept going up against a very difficult and very challenging entry game coming out from Virtus Pro. If BDS can repeat that, then they could find so much pressure being applied onto the key player of Aces that they find themselves in the similar troubling waters.
They've got themselves quite a few things being paid attention to. They've got themselves the Moto Hatch. They've got themselves Kitchen. They've got themselves Dirt. They are opening up all these key entryways towards the site they've got to focus on, because even if you aren't aiming to play them, having them open just exerts that false pressure or ghost pressure. There's no one there. No one's looking to push it. You haven't got a gun pushing towards you as a defender, but it's the fear of what if someone does come and do that. It's another angle to pay attention to. Leon getting nice and aggressive here down below. Going to come up against Shaiko, and he goes, no, there's only one #1 fragger in this game, and his name is Shaiko. Shiko, and that's Leon gone. He has not had a good day when it comes to opening deaths. He consistently has been the first one going down in quite a number of rounds.
Yeah, and pushing down blue was actually one of the places he really struggled with last time they came to the map earlier on in the day. Rask was the one who was typically playing on the Jaeger in that position, and Leon just really struggled to be able to dislodge him. It meant that the Roma was still able to be playing late until the round, and no control taken in the very key blue area that you would want, especially if you're wanting to open up the church wall. So it looks like that's once again going to be a problem here for Rogue to deal with. Another thing that I think is interesting to note, and this is something that we saw earlier, is their drone economy, Derry. How's that looking for you?
Pretty dead, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It is coming into those final 30 seconds or so, mind you, and with only a couple left on side, it's going to be all about winning the gunfights here. It's about acting on old information, which is always a massive risk. 5 versus 2, though, for the side of BDS. This is looking like an absolute crushing in the first round. They'll get one back. It's a little bit of a consolation kill, but Rogue haven't got the control they need on the side, even around it at this point, to be able to execute. Renshiro, what a day he's had so far. Strikes big against Rips. 4 versus 1. Corey, no information. 10 seconds on the clock. Round number 1 looks to be going the way of BDS. And almost nothing that Corey will be able to do by himself, except maybe pick up a kill. It's all about the KD. Get yourself 2 rounds in the first round, followed by a death. BDS, a pretty comfortable first round coming out.
One of the things that we wondered was whether maybe the break that Rogue have had today would have allowed them to sit down and strategize a little bit better. But actually now I'm starting to think maybe the adrenaline off the back of the game against G2 will set BDS up better. We did see the Rogue needed something of a warm-up time earlier on in the day, so don't count them out just yet. But BDS, in a lot of those engagements in that first round, came down to just being more aggressive while Rogue were holding angles, not being afraid to swing around and get the headshot in that moment. It almost looked like Rogue were being taken by surprise in a lot of those deaths.
It was a real rough one trying to push into blue, and I can't count the number of times anymore that I've seen Shiko sat behind the generator playing for the ADS trick game with the shield behind him leading in towards church. The whole focus really came into saying, well, we need Shiko out, but when Shiko's finding the opening kill onto Leon, retreating back down blue stairs and managing to sit comfortably, well, what more do you need? He didn't even have to do much there. Leon came to him actually down blue now that I think about it, and without that blue control, you can't plant inside of church. They never had the tools to set up and try and go for a plant inside of armory. A little bit too simple for BDS. I've got to see more conviction coming out of Rogue in their setups.
Well, when Rogue came onto this site against Virtus Pro for the first time, they were able to get the plant down. So it did look pretty good for them. Maybe they'll be able to repeat such endeavors this time round. Of course, they're going to be going up against some kind of similar operators that we did see in that last round. Obviously, Alems is going to be on Bandit. And when you've got the Thatcher, you can possibly get rid of those with the tricking. But Aces, once again, was one of the earliest players on Rogue to go down in that last round. So that could maybe be an issue once again. Question is,
are you up for a revision lesson?
Oh, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not going to torment you. What did I say in the last round that we saw BDS playing in terms of operator lineups time and time again in their last fixture?
I don't remember, Derek.
Oh, that's awful. I only said it 3 minutes ago. Your memory's slipping in these old age
My
years.
memory is
They
bad.
banned it. Bandit, Maestro, and Goyo. They've chosen not to bring it this round. They've replaced it. Renshiro instead going to play on the Legion. So less reliance on the shields here. More about getting Renshiro probably out in the map and looking to make use of those goo mines to hold downstairs around the lounge area. Makes sense. Don't want to have to get forced to play from below. As when BDS were playing on this map last against G2, they got absolutely terrorized by G2. Opening up construction, opening up CCTV, forcing BDS downstairs into their untimely deaths where 2 or 3 players from G2 were waiting. So I think downstairs control for them here is a big deal. They don't want to give that control over to Rogue.
Well, are Rogue going to be able to get the control? That's the question. In go those EMPs, and that means the bandit batteries are going to be removed fairly quickly, and the wall opened up as well. Shiko is on a rather large roam here. Is he going to be able to be called out by Rogue? Leon Gids is looking for it, but he's obviously struggled a lot so far, and I hate to say it, but it's kind of unsurprising that he wasn't able to win out that engagement. Shiko, who has been on fire, and that means that they take 1 soul from Rogue for themselves, and half the round still to go.
Absolutely. Shiko in the previous fixture also had this full agency to make use of main stairs and gym and bedroom and just cause absolute chaos, in fact. Even when he was pushing up towards the construction window, it was around there that he was causing trouble. Not going to have such freedom this time round, as Rogue have already got full control and held onto it for construction. It's almost becoming the new norm in EU, where you take control of construction, Use that to get some EMPs through or frag grenades through or whatever else you need. Then look to get CCTV wall open once you've removed the gadgets or the defender that's playing on it. So they've gone for that style of approach. They have got the things open that they need to. Now it's about starting to look for the execute. Garage is not in their control. They're going to try and play without it.
Well, in construction now. Haven't really fully got it open, I guess, but Corey's looking to see what he can get. You've noticed that they were keeping an eye on the hatch as well, because they don't know if anyone's still down there. So many of these angles are actually trying to be held here by Rogue, who want to be gaining control, and they've actually made the move in. This means Corey could begin to plant soon. There's going to be the smoke he has to worry about, but it is going to start backwards and forwards, and Ace is now going to be bleeding out. That leaves just Corey on his own. Up against 4 players, and he gets blown up. Not very hard there for Alems to finish things off. And Rogue, really, that was kind of almost a Hail Mary at the end there. They had no other options, and at that point in the round, they didn't fully know where the location of all these enemies were. You just had to go for it. It didn't work out in their favor.
I didn't quite see throughout the course of that round if they managed to get themselves construction wall open. That's a pretty critical part of it, so you can challenge quite freely in towards the top of red stairs so the sites are then clear. You care far less about what's going on inside a garage because the plant attempt will come in towards cash. But problem is, the downstairs. I mentioned it before about their play with G2. It's all about making sure you retain that downstairs control so you can play for the plant denial with those C4s. In this case, a little bit too comfortable. Speaking of C4s, it looks like BDS want to bring 4 along to their site defense of gym and bedroom. Heading over there, and so far, things going well. 2 rounds back to back. It hasn't been the slippery slope we've seen them on before. They look almost convincing and solid on the defense here, and Rogue are the ones still struggling and flailing around to try and find an idea.
No, it's almost kind of strange, isn't it, after what we just saw them go through with G2, who looked so composed and really made BDS look like they're on the back foot, and suddenly BDS look a lot more comfortable. Now, obviously, it is a different team, and one of the things that we did see with Rogue was they just needed some of that time to warm up and to get things together. We really questioned what was going on in the first map that they played against Virtus Pro, where it all looked very messy. One of the big things I commented on was the fact that it really looked like that they were lacking spatial awareness in it. And it took them a map or so to actually bring out their best. But I don't think they can really afford to do that anymore. And if BDS can get ahead while they can, it could put them in a great position to get that advantage in this best of 3 series.
I think Alems is crying there. He was doing all the setup out towards the west, and they realized they were 1 wall short, so he had to run all the way across the CCTV to go and reinforce towards cash to get the 3rd and final wall done. Thanks very much, Ubisoft. Alems is crying now. He's still got that 1 mirror window on side that he needs to get down, and I expect it to go here, which is exactly where it's going to go. Looking in towards construction, they will remember it very well from their game against G2, because this is where Shaiko managed to avoid Virtue, who was playing behind the mirror shield, running towards site and killed 3 people. Alems probably doesn't want to have a repeat of that, but for his own team, to should be holding on to that one nice and tight and making sure construction stays in their control.
Well, are they going to be able to hold it in their control? That is the question. Rogue have really been struggling with these early opening deaths. It looks like Renshira is ready just for anyone to drop the hatch into logistics. And actually, Alem's also there as well, as obviously he's placed behind the mirror window. It's going to make it a lot harder for Rogue to be able to move in that way through that side of the map. And they're just going to have to keep watching out for it. The question is, does Kajeka still have his nades on him? That's
not sure. That's C4 apparently was on side a second ago. Yeah, they've got to remove him from outside of CCTV though, or else they can't have that full control they need. And there we go. Leon finds one onto Rafal. The down comes across onto Alem. So it doesn't matter whether or not you're sat behind that mirror shield. It's all about, come on, mirror window more like rather than a shield. It's more about the fact grenades are singing in from above and bringing down these crucial members, because right now construction is pretty exposed and Renshiro can't afford to ignore what is going on from up on high through the hatch. Shaiko doing what Shaiko does best. Finds a window, finds an enemy, bullets connect onto the head, or in this case the body, pretty rapidly.
Once again, preventing that control. And what else is going to add to that is the fact that Alems has now been risen. That still means the logistics is going to be held onto with a lot of tenacity here from BDS. And Rogue's still struggling to move in. Well, I was going to say the same thing. Leon is pushing on up. He's actually going to be moving in fairly aggressively, but he might find himself getting caught out here.
It's going to be massive. I don't think they even know at this point as well. He could swing round and we'll find one. You don't expect someone to come pushing through logistics so aggressively. You expect the focus to instead come from inside a construction, or sorry, from the stock hatch. Shaiko is going to trade him back out, mind you, so it's not the end of the world. Shaiko, I was going to say, the great equalizer in this round, finding 2 kills, but gets shut down by Rips, and that'll be no more equalizing done on his part. 3 versus 2. Rogue have got 30 seconds to go. They need a round on the board here, because otherwise we repeat these same 3 sites after BDS have come through and won all 3 of them. This isn't looking like the easiest affair for them anymore. Aces finds 1. That odds have just got a lot greater. It's all down to Brede, and he knows where to hold. He knows where the plant is going to come through, but can he disrupt it in time? I don't think he can. Can't even win the gunfight onto Aces, and that'll be a round for Rogue. So definitely not the end of the world. And that 4-2 now starts to feel possible on the attacking side.
I think what Leon did, taking BDS by surprise in that instance, really helped. And Leon was one of those really big players who in the previous series that they played earlier on in the day looked a bit weak at first and really strengthened up by the end and impressed us a lot by the end of the series. It looks like maybe he could have found himself on that highway to success a bit faster in this game, or maybe you'd hope that that's the way that it's going to go. Maybe he's had some birthday cake and is just feeling a little bit better, because of course it's Leon's 21st birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Let's see what you can do.
I'd love to have a birthday party with Leon.
You would love to?
Yeah, he's had some fun parties, actually. He's been a good boy. They've all been socially distanced, but he's had a lot of fun over the last few months, where it's been like, right, social distance barbecue, now we're having birthday, and I'm just like,
oh, they had so much food at that barbecue. I remember seeing the photos and being like, wow, share, please.
Tell you what, people have not appreciated the after morning breakfast that you have in the UK, when you just get stacks of toast, loads of bacon, might even get some beans there if you're lucky as well. It's fantastic.
Right, well, baked beans.
Gio, you've never been blessed by the beans.
Baked beans, I'm sorry, but they are disgusting. Just like some of the plays that we've seen today. Ha ha ha.
Hey, but what a segue.
Gotta see if
you learned
these
that
two
one at clown school?
All right, shut up, Derry. I'm trying.
Go on then, carry on trying. Go on.
I was just going to say we've got to see if they can keep it up. I'd say that Shaiko on the side of BDS is definitely someone who's been picking up a lot of the slack, or at least in instances where Rogue have been able to get nearly a 1-up, maybe a kill. Shaiko's always been just around the corner, ready to take it back into BDS's hands. He's someone that they're really going to have to be worrying about, or Rogue, that is, really going to have to be worrying about and getting rid of if they want to prevent the risk of trades.
Be the same as last round, I think, or at least back as round number 1, where everything started out. It was a BDS round win in the end, if you remember. It turned into a bit of a flurry more towards the back end of it. But Rogue did put a focus on opening everything up. I mentioned about that ghost pressure. There's no player there, but you're still worried that someone might come creeping in. So you have to leave someone watching the angle in case it does come round to a late round flank. Otherwise, it's that Legion returning once again. You mentioned about the difference. There's no Goyo on side, so less of the focus around the shields, but more around these traps. And the one that's just dropped down there, entirely focused around if this hatch gets opened up. You'll be ready to deal with him, saying, right, you're landing in there into a goo mine. You can't run very far. Should be the freest kill of our lives.
Aces not taking too many risks when it comes to going down the stairs, especially as Rips' drone did figure out that the bandit was just below. Not really worth it. Corey is going to be going down there to Shaiko. There you go, there's that player I was talking about, and it does mean that that hard breach is gone, assuming that he hadn't used all of those pellets, which I'm not sure if he did. You do still have Rips, of course, on the board, so he could open up the church wall, provided that the correct control is taken, which is something that Rogue have struggled with. Rafal has left the game, but it doesn't matter when Shaiko can just clear up the shop and deal with the problems himself.
Voice, we've been saying all day, where has Shaiko been? It's been a quiet season. Well, so far he is here. 8 kills across 4 rounds, and the round isn't even done yet. Got a question. Leon keeps on stepping down blue, though, and looking to push down the stairs without much support. Sure, a couple of flashes are coming in from above, but there's nothing to really scare Shaiko. He's happy to take the peek before the barrage of grenades come through, so a little bit of mistiming on the side of Rogue that I think needs to improve across these rounds if you're going to see them being able to unseat God himself.
I really like this crossfire that's being held here, and there's an example of it working as Renshura goes down to Ace's gun. And you could tell, obviously, Leon has been struggling with pushing into blue. So bring in your reinforcements in the form of aces. He is one of the best fraggers in the entire region, arguably the entire world, and make it so it's impossible for BDS to regain control of that part of the map. That gives your other players time to work on the church wall, to be opening up the control from there instead. You can tell that Alems is trying to prevent them from moving forward, though, as he tries to hold this angle down from AKs, but Shaika's going to be getting a kill for himself, and Rips and Karjeka both find themselves down. Ace is on his own. He can't do anything just alone. BDS do continue to take the round, despite the fact they lost a member, and despite the fact that Rogue looks so much better on their coordination of the attack.
Shaika was definitely licking his chops there, thinking, oh goody, more kills for me. 4 kills in that round, now up to 10 after just 4 rounds. Unbelievable. We mentioned previously around, would he be the player to step up? Is it all going to come down to Brede once more? Yeah, absolutely not the case. He's happy to step up and shine, and that's twice now. Twice the Rogue have tried to fight him out of blue and can't force him out. He is looking very, very comfortable, very much so in his element, and you can see why this is regarded as one of the maps that they are relatively comfortable on, even though it was Rogue's pick.
Yeah, relatively comfortable. It's interesting, actually, because when they went on Clubhouse earlier on, it was VP's pick and Rogue won. Now it's Rogue's pick and BDS are looking stronger on it. I'm wondering if maybe this is just the pattern that we're going to start seeing here. What I'm actually interested in is, how much do you think the victory from earlier on this map went into Rogue's decision to pick this one?
I think somewhat. If you're feeling good about a map and you're like, look, we can deal with this. We know how BDS have played it. We've analyzed it before. That G2 game that BDS had previously is probably a really good one to watch because they're not varying things up massively. You always know Shaiko's going to play on blue. You always know they're going to bring these same 3 or 4 operators. There's nothing too much to worry about. The problem is, as I mentioned earlier on, it's inconsistency between both teams, I think. Shaiko stepping up in this game wasn't really massive in the one earlier on, hasn't been massive in the back end of the regular season, but what counts is when it comes to games like this, who is stepping up and making themselves heard? So far, it's definitely not Aces and Leon like we saw earlier on in their game.
No, and that's the thing. We mentioned it earlier. It's been this kind of narrative that's run through the day so far, and that is Rogue just don't look as assertive as we've seen from them in the past. One of the things that really impressed us in EUL was the fact that they were one of these so-called super teams who made these big roster changes, had high expectations, but they actually looked to be living up to them from very early on in the season, and then continued them forward. And one of the things was, wow, the players on this team, they're such good gunners. They have such good skill. They're doing really well. You've got Aces, Corey, Rips. They had some of the best stats in Pro League Season 11, have continued that along. Then you bring in Karjeka and Leon. This is insane. And now it's like, guys, you know what you have in your fingertips. Use it.
You mentioned about Rips, Corey, and Aces, and I always love the little stat that we dug up at the very start of VUL, was that in the previous season, each of them held a big accolade. They love having the 1vx stat at the top. I believe KD they were also best for, and Clutch is another one they were best for. So across that team, there was already a very good base of players there that has now been enabled somewhat by Karjeka and Leon joining. But we are seeing the problems creeping in around inconsistency. I'll keep on raising that as the key point to go back to. Karjeka, not having a great day so far. Leon, man, the guy can't catch a break. It's like watching him back in the first few weeks where every single entry fight he's trying to take, he's the one being caught out on the bad end of things and doesn't have anyone around to go for the retrade. And that's what I need to see coming through more from these boys is, sure, you want to take these early fights, go for it, but please to God, make sure you're getting the trades coming through afterwards.
I have to say that's why I really like that adaptation that they made in that last round where they decided to send Aces down into blue along with Leon, because it meant that there was that opportunity for the refrag should they need it. Obviously, Shaiko then just kind of dipped out of nowhere and was like, bam, and you got LMs down in the other side near AKs, and he's holding on to that angle. That's where it's like, okay, you need to be feeling the confidence that you can take that, because you've got to push forward at some point. LMs has got to be dealt with. And I'm not saying just like wide swing and go crazy, there's a reason I'm not your coach. But the point still stands is that with those two together, there's no reason to believe that you shouldn't be able to take those engagements.
It all came down to focus, I think. And we spoke in earlier series about the whole focus of being very one-dimensional, saying, right, we're pushing this angle, and that's all we're really bothering with. Theme Park, I think, is the very first game of the day, or the one in the last series, sorry, was the one that we spoke about and said, well, you've got to put more focus in than just the east side. You've got to come from Cafe at the same time. I'd say the same to Rogue here. I mean, we probably won't see the downstairs site again now that it's been won twice by BDS. But trying to send more men in to try and deal with Shaiko clearly wasn't the answer, as he was more than happy to just say, great, a higher body count for me to collect. Back into game, though. Round number 5, CCTV and Cash going to be where we head to. That Legion being a sticking point now for BDS. Small adaptations in how they used to play things, which no doubt is giving Rogue a bit of a guessing game here to have to deal with.
If it works, it works. And so far, things have been working for BDS. As you say, returning to CCTV now. And once again, Rogue did nearly make the plan. I mean, that's kind of a bit rich to say, I suppose. Corey sort of jumped in and went for it, and everyone else was dying around him, and there wasn't really much that he could do in that situation. And I think one of the big issues, and we talked about it at the time, was the fact that Rogue didn't fully know where these players who were offside, notably Alems, were. At that late into the round, you should at least have an idea. Even if you haven't cleared it out, even if you've figured out that you've run out of time, you're being pushed for time, you're kind of rushing, you should at least have some idea where they are, especially if, like BDS have been doing, they like to play the C4s. You know that there's the vertical threat. You know that you've always got that below you. They were looking down the construction hatch, looking to see what they could find, couldn't see anything, and in the end, Alems did get the kill that finished everything off.
Half expecting to see an initial focus coming out of Rogue towards the west here. They had 3 drones set out towards gym and bedroom, just keeping an eye on who was where, what rotations were coming through. But it looks like most of the members are actually focused out towards the east and towards the south. So maybe Garage and CCTV wall is going to be the focus. Acknowledge that last time round, BDS had a couple of members stacked up inside a Garage. Didn't really need to put any focus in towards holding it in the end because, well, Rogue didn't even bother looking towards it. So adaptation more coming through from Rogue's side here rather than from BDS's.
And that's really good to see, at the very least, because obviously Rogue have been the ones who, I think, it can be argued, have struggled more, so they do need to be bringing the adaptations. But very similarly to last time, the coordination to be able to open up the server wall, and that makes it very quick and easy for them. And obviously going to be droning things out. Now, you have to bear in mind that pre-placed C4 that Alems did put downstairs. There we go. Being shown by... Is it Medics or Easy who's observing?
This is Medics again.
This is Medics? Oh, hi, Medics.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for showing us that. And Karjeka is dangerously close to there. All it will take is him to walk just a bit too close to it, and he can find himself getting caught out. They've heard the sledge. Yeah, they will have. Alems, he hits the trigger, and the C4 goes up, as does Karjeka's body.
I love how Shaiko's been lurking around downstairs for this exact reason you're seeing now, trying to pick off a couple of those Excaros, but also to be able to provide some support if someone does go and deal with that C4. So I think the fact that there's been no vertical control once again by Rogue, we saw this in the earlier series and called it out a little bit then. There's never really any focus to pinch onto those playing downstairs or look to play vertically to any great degree. This has come back to bite them a little bit. Karjeka being picked off, sure, it's only one man, but it's also the fact that you now know Shaiko's downstairs. You've probably got 1 or 2 others down there that you've now got to go and deal with, and that is exactly where Leon is going to put his attention.
And this is the same problem that they had before. Less than a minute remaining, and they've still got to deal with this. Leon did get flashed out, but Corey is going to be going for the plant. Gives up on it, though, because the smoke does get in his way, but they're still finding themselves in this situation where they are very much pushed for time. Knowing there are players downstairs you've got to deal with. You want to try and get them,
Leon.
but if Renshaw is going to get shots like that, you're not going to have the chance, and Corey's just got to go for the plant. He hasn't got much of a choice, but Renshaw guns him down as well, and Rogue's hopes are dwindling as Renshaw adds once again onto the kill count. A great flawless round there for BDS, and Rogue really clinging to the vestiges of hope on taking a server site, and it doesn't look like they're going to be getting any better.
No, and I almost don't want to isolate a friend, a player that I respect a lot in Leon here, but why he felt the need to go pushing out of stock there to try and push into lounge, a little bit questionable. I understand it gives you more coverage. It means you can hold more of the floor if you need to. But as soon as he goes creeping through, zero awareness that someone is inside a garage holding the double soft wall with an angle through with a couple of bullet holes, he walks through and gets killed for free. That gives all the agency in the world to Renshiro to then run to where he was playing and look to play with impacts from below, open up the floor, and kill Corey as he's trying to go for a plant. All Leon had to do was just sit and hold that spot, and that could have been the easiest plant of his life for Corey once all those smoke canisters were expended. But by sacrificing it, they've gone on to lose another round. 4-on-1 to BDS, and this is the final defensive round we're going to see coming out of them. I'm thinking this is probably going to go 4-2. Given how the last round went, it went the way of Rogue, but BDS look like they're growing in confidence and they haven't skipped a beat since that rehost came through.
I would like to see that. I would like to believe that Rogue do, of course, have it in them to be able to do that. And I think for them, it would be a really big point of improving their morale. Now, they've obviously switched Corey here onto the IQ to deal with the Valkyrie of Rafale. So if you see Rafale making any runouts with no info, it's because he's playing the Valkyrie. And Alem's obviously 6-picking onto Kaid as well. So there's information there. He's going to be on the side of BDS, and there's going to be a lot of responsibility on Corey to get rid of those black eyes and get rid of what they can. That is a good, very impactful shot from Karjeka all the way from spawn, because we know how Shaiko has been doing for this team. We know the value he's been getting, and this round, that's not going to be an option.
Very musical towards the end there, Gio. And I think this is the thing about Shaiko, right? It comes to these early stages in the round. He's the first one out of a window. He's the first one holding a window and trying to kill you as you're running towards the building. This time, at least, there is the presence of mind coming out of Karjeka to say, you know what, no, challenge time. We've got to make sure we're there to stop him when he goes through a play like this again. That's a great way to take control of BDS. And this is what I wanted to see from both teams. Focus less on playing your own game and how many kills you can find. Focus instead on trying to shut down the other side. And shutting down Shaiko, especially in this game, maybe not previous one, is turning out to be the key to keeping BDS quiet.
And it's simultaneously a scary position for the opposition, but also a dangerous position for you when you have one player who can be so impactful. Leon Gids, looking like he's going to be sneaking up. He's just going to be checking the drones, but it's not too far away from some of these players here on BDS, and he's going to end up down as Alems knows exactly where he is. Throwing in that second C4, but he doesn't actually get him, and that means that the withstand is going to be coming out. Oh, but okay, Leon, you're going to go straight down again. Alems just clears things up with the TCSG. Who needs a C4, am I right?
Am I right? Well, tried the C4 and it was meant to be a guaranteed secure kill. Not quite to be the case. Fell just short, I think. So 2 C4s expended. Don't lose anyone to it once he's back up on his feet, though. It would have been horrific if he had got back up on 5 HP and then managed to bring down a member of BDS. But at least here, BDS have got some kind of respite. Here we go into a 4 versus 4. 65 seconds remaining. They still don't have control of the East as well. They cannot play on the South balcony lest they get picked off. Aces steps up. Renshiro going down is another one for them into those 60 seconds, Gio.
As you say, they don't have that control. Lem's going in for those shots, not quite going to be able to land them. It's going to be Bride instead who brings Aces down. That's that key player there for Rogue. This control still needs to be gained. There's nothing to force Lem's out of the position that he's currently in. And of course, Bride is positioned in the bathroom. So both the East and the West still have a fight to be put up from the defending team. Rogue just looking to move on in. They need to make the plant soon because, as you say, less than 30 seconds remaining, and this is still going on.
The fact you've got players downstairs is the greatest fear. Normally, you'd be having a C4 downstairs that you just throw up as to try and go for a plant inside a gym, but I think there's a rotation even coming back up the main stairs, potentially. I think he's moved away somewhere. Not quite sure where to, but they have got to be careful here. They get caught out from below. In fact, there's Rafale. He is still holding down. Going to try and spray through the floor. Wrong spot, I'm afraid, buddy. Rips might be able to stick this one. Alem just managed to find another by rotating out across the CCTV, but it's 3 versus 2 and a post plant. It's not the end of the world for Rogue, and they even managed to collect another kill, forcing this into a 2 versus 2. It feels like they've almost snatched an impossible round away here. Another one comes in, but it's into a 1 versus 1. Can Alem find the quadra kill and completely turn this one around? He's got to have some kind of clue as to where he is. Ripped out on the south balcony. Alem, he's trying to stick it. Going to find himself getting sprayed. He's in and finds the headshot. All too easy for Rips, and Rogue will collect that second round on gym and bedroom, but not without a bit of a war to get there.
It really felt like the game there for Rogue was distract BDS as much as possible, just so that the plant could go down and worry about what happens after that. And it worked out for them. I mean, Corey, if he hadn't been able to get those kills that he got, I think that could have gone a different way. Obviously, he got one fairly cleanly. Then you got the Valkyrie downstairs. He had to back off a bit, switch weapon just so he could get it. It puts you in a risky position, but it worked out for him. Rips was in a great position to be able to deal with Alems at the end, especially as he had no more of his comrades alongside him to be able to help deal with that threat. But I really think Corey there was such a linchpin in being able to make that kind of final rush work out.
Let's see how this now things switcheroo, and we see Rogue going onto the defense. Let's see how they fare against BDS's attacks. Seen an awful lot of BDS on their defensive side around the retake strategy they played against G2, around Shaiko being at windows, but their attack is still a bit of a misnomer. There's still more to come from them. There's still more, I think, that we need to discover around the way that they play. So I'm excited to see how they fare up against Rogue's defenses here. What I'd love to see is Rogue getting out in the map and being willing to contest. That is where they made their name on this map against teams like Secret and Na'Vi. Poor Doki, playing Thermite in that week, got spawn killed 3 times by Rogue, so they never even had a chance to play the damn game, let alone find themselves any kind of kills. So Rogue, for me, it's all about disruption, and especially when Shaiko likes playing on things like the Hibana, removing one of those hard breaches can be so critical in the early phases of a round.
Really such a heartbreaking tale about Doki there, but oh, you're totally right. And I mentioned it earlier, the fact that when Rogue played against VP today, they had so much a stronger defense than they did attack. In fact, I'm pretty sure they took all of their defensive rounds that they had on this site. So, or not just this site, but this map. So I'm expecting better things from them here, I think is safe to say. You know, obviously BDS, we've seen a decent amount of coordination from them and some very, very strong aggression that they've been able to make work out in their favor many times so far. And you never know, that could end up being enough to kind of cripple the defense being brought out by Rogue. Some nice droning there. You saw Breede's drone just go completely under the radar, and so that was some free information on who was playing in construction for BDS. That's going to set them up well for this attack from the get-go.
I think Leon was slightly panicked that with a drone walking into the room, oftentimes there is an operator following close by, ready to collect any free kills that might be waiting. There was no one outside the window. There's nothing too crazy going on, so didn't have to worry too much. But backing away onto site will give more agency to BDS here to get themselves stepping forwards. I mentioned about being willing to try and contest BDS. I like how it started, although they've now given over all this control to the other side and said, right, site and garage, that's where we are staking our defense.
There's something we were talking about earlier, actually, when we were watching that first game, is a lot of teams nowadays are enjoying coming in through the West and taking control of construction before they actually pay attention to the server wall. And of course, as you say, garage is, garage is also a big point
you're catching
of
the bug now, that's it.
I know, I don't like it. It's
you
also,
can say it, because you're from London, it's fine.
Okay, well, Leon isn't going to be able to say anything. Once again, the first death in the game is something that's been somewhat of a pattern today. And, yeah, not a great place to be.
Renee's about to sing in as well from Rafal at the same time as getting this wall open. Normally the game plan, I was going to say, is to clear out the ADSs from above with a Thatcher EMP and then look to start making the plays with the grenades. But they tried to time the two together pretty closely there. No EMP came through, but also no ADS is present to deal with it seems like. Corey's going to find Rafal. It's still a 4 versus 3 for BDS, and his first attack from them is looking pretty good. One-dimensional, absolutely, but still pretty solid until Karjeka balances it back out, now into a 3 versus 3.
Lems and Shaiko, two of those key players still standing. And as I say that, I realize it's stupid to not mention Breede, who's obviously been the star of the main season. As I say that, Karjeka is going to be getting that shot in through onto Lems. He's a player who really needed to show up compared to earlier on, and it looked like he's getting there. Make that a 2K as he brings down Shaiko. Just Breede still remaining, and he's going to try desperately to take in those shots. But it's not enough as Karjeka clears him up with the 3rd kill in the row. And this is what I like to see, Des. Karjeka, he's a player who's pretty good, if you ask me, and I don't think we saw everything he has to offer earlier today.
I'll always step on and say the same thing about both of these teams is inconsistency, and for Karjeka, that's been the big worry of the day. I think he was on 0 kills early despite them winning the map, and I was like, what is going on here? That 4K at least should be a confidence booster, a bit of an uplifter there. When you're having a bad day, sometimes you just want to be the guy that takes control of a round and sees it through to its end. So good on him to get something on his side. It does give the first defensive round over to to Rogue. We'll see how things start balancing back out here, if they can bring it up to 4 and 4, or if BDS can find one of those elusive attacking rounds here on Clubhouse.
Well, I said Rogue looked pretty strong on the defense last time. Or last
4
time.
and 2 they went, right?
Last
Where did
time
they
being.
lose?
Let me get up my notes. Nope,
And
on Clubhouse,
right?
on the defense,
Yeah.
they took 5 rounds in a row. So,
Comfortable.
Yeah, not particularly pressured. Well, actually, I think the scoreline probably doesn't necessarily tell the full story because Virtus Pro were playing very well, but it's at the end of the day, it's the scoreline that does matter.
Yes. I remember thinking earlier on, actually, on the second map when it came round to Club, I was just like, man, I'll feel so bad for Virtus Pro if they lose this series because they played so ridiculously well back on map 1. They look like the team. You'd almost kind of take away the nameplates and flip the teams around. You'd be saying, oh man, that's definitely Rogue playing so well. But no, it was Virtus Pro who really stepped up. They said in the post-game interview for them, it was more about the focus on themselves, getting the core fundamentals right, rather than worrying about what other teams are doing. Renat being poised by Corey, has the camera on side, but not going to choose to go for it, it seems. And maybe BDS even being somewhat aware of it as Alems is holding down towards this area, almost daring him to try and go for it. But nope, site play is the game for him.
Well, you can see he's droning in as well, so they're very aware of the presence that would be down there from Rogue, and that is, of course, going to force the positioning of the defenders to move out the way. It's interesting positioning here from Leon. Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Very cheeky, especially if he can catch someone else, but he's going to be seen straight away by that drone, which isn't able to be shot by... Well, okay, now it's able to be shot by him. I spoke a bit too soon. But the point is, his positioning there not going to necessarily have the cheeky effects that he was looking for.
That's what we call the caster curse, Gio. You curse the drone. Doesn't matter if it's predictions or in-game, we curse everything. It was me leaning into my mic and trying to put on one of the weird voices that I often do when we aren't live.
We were saying earlier how if Derry's a fictional character, we always pick him to be the one with the weird voice. Ooh.
Because there's always some kind of weird voice coming in. It's Shaiko being down. We mentioned this earlier on, actually, as well, that Shaiko being one of the hard breachers, it's a gift and a curse. He's very skilled with her banner. I respect that. But if you're going in and being the one trying to find the entry frags, then you've got to worry about the fact that you are potentially sacrificing those ex-Kairos. Now, he doesn't always pick it to play as a support style where your goal is to get walls open. It's to try and get kills like this, but misses some critical shots. And Corey, all the happier to try and collect him, and shall do so. That's been a rough couple of rounds for Shaiko. Across 3 rounds, he has been the opening death twice.
Yeah, and this is also looking like BDS kind of playing individualistically, trying to go in for the aggression. You've got to be doing it in a more coordinated way. LMs and Brede securing kills there does kind of make me eat my words a bit as they are starting to work together.
Stop cursing it, woman, God.
I'm sorry. Because Rogue are now on the man disadvantage as well. Got to look for God Emperor Karjeka to show up like he did in the last round. Maybe he'll be able to do it. He has still got the Alder in hand, and that is what he did it with last time. Oh, all right, well. Thanks for the scoreboard. I didn't read any of it, but Leon getting a sorry there from Medic. Leon's still positioned here in logistics. He knows that there's someone up there, and I think that might be Rafal, who's going to be throwing in a nade. That's exactly what I was looking for, but it wasn't going to be enough to bring Leon down, and Rafal's going to be taking the pain for it himself.
Never say Leon isn't a man brimming with confidence or aggression at points because he's so willing to hold aggressively. Normally gets punished for it, and here's going to find Rips trying to get one down. The second one almost came singing through, but here's Leon, the man himself, trying to swing round. It's a 1 versus 1 as one more is down. Can he find the kill before this Reds comes through? Shotgun comes through, but he gets the down man. Renshiro's still standing, but the time's about to run out. There's nothing to be done. Leon, man, dragging that round through to its conclusion, and a win for Rogue. There we go. And that draws things up at 4 apiece.
Things are uncomfortably close, I think, in this half so far. Despite the fact that Rogue have got 2 defenses now, it hasn't been really decisive. There's definitely been backwards and forwards, and I think it's definitely fair to say that Shaiko, of course, has not necessarily had the best half so far. As you mentioned, in the last few rounds, compared to the first few rounds of this map, kind of a bit different. And I think if he can he was a little bit over aggressive and over assertive in that last round, I think, and he went in by himself. He ended up getting gunned down quite easily. It was very risky, just trying to swing straight into cash. And I think if he doesn't do that and isn't quite so risky, especially when he's on his own, you might be able to add that extra power onto what BDS are doing with their attack and take advantage of Rogue in a way that doesn't allow them to be able to pull things through in their favor by the end.
So much of it just comes down to enabling Shaiko, though. Or for him, being enabled by the other team is the biggest success that he can have. Back in the first half, Rogue didn't really control him all that well, let's not forget. It was only, I believe, in one of the closing rounds when Shaiko was killed by Karjeka at a window. Prior to that, he was having all the freedom in the world, running around to whatever window he wanted, being able to challenge people away from sight, and very rarely was he punished for it. In this half, because it's a totally different style of play coming out of Shaiko, it's him being on the Habana, him having to go aggressive to find those that are trying to play this own game. It's a bit of a switch, and one that he doesn't look too comfortable with so far, but give him time and he may yet stand up and shine.
Well, as you
the question is, how much time do you want to give, though, right?
Well, I was going to say only time will tell, but the question is, how much is that? Because the scoreline is now even. BDS had a pretty dominating start. They went 4-2 at the half. But that's kind of normal on defense. So now you're switched over and things have evened out, and Rogue don't seem to be looking like they're about to stop on the defense.
You're absolutely right, Gio, and I think it's the one thing I always say is that there are two halves to a game of Siege when you have your attack and defense, and teams can look very, very different between them. I'd say most look more comfortable when they're on the defensive side, but you really get to see the character of a team when they're the ones on the attack. It's very comfortable on the defense to be able to play a little bit chaotic, try and upset the other team. But when you're on the attack is when you really get to see the composure, the time management, the pace, the utility preservation coming out of attackers. So we'll see how BDS fare coming into the next few rounds, but if it carries on down this sort of trend, it could get very rough. That being said, Shaiko finally is going to strike first and get the opening kill, and its ace is gone. It's the Jaeger, the more dispensable, you might wager, of the group, but that means I believe that blue should now be clear. And for BDS, where they caused such a headache for Rogue trying to take control of blue, it's now as free as anything for them to step into, assume control of, and secure control of Church.
Well, free as anything, but you do have Karjeka, who's moved up to take that position, and of course Rips by AKs as well, who again is going to make it very hard for those crossfires to be crossed for any attacker who decides to move down there. So while Alems can still move on down and try to ensure that he does take that control, he still has to be aware of that, and he has to be able to take those gunfights and win them out in order for the true control to be taken. It's not quite as easy as maybe initially looks. There's going to be a lot of smoke coming out, pushing Brede back, but Rafal's going to be jumping down in through Moto as well, sending in an aid, but it's not to find anyone.
Yeah, the fact is that now that he's gone, they've got to hold more areas, the more stretch of the defenders here. And playing on site, totally fine strategy here, but if you can't win your gunfight, it's going to come back to bite you. Leon challenging Shaiko, gets bitten a Lems, exact same story, but doesn't know about the one by the looks of it behind the shield, or did, but can't quite find the shots. And here comes Rips, tearing up a new one in towards BDS with the Alder, but it's a 1 versus 3. Plants going down from Brede. There is a lot of work for the Alder bearer to do here, and all it's going to take is one simple angle to be held. You saw his head for a brief second. Unfortunately, Rafal connects the shots. BDS get around, and Gio, I'm smelling overtime on the way.
Yeah, maybe so. Because again, it sort of comes back to what I was saying, where it hasn't been super definitive. There's been a lot of backwards and forwards. And I think the fact that these rounds in and of themselves have been relatively evenly matched, it does lead you to believe that this would be a game that does go into overtime. I think Rogue definitely have it in them to, claw this back to at least an even round count as well, and BDS, now they've sort of found their footing a bit more on the attack. They can do the same thing after that. So I think overtime definitely is something that could very well be in our sights. But obviously if BDS can keep this up and recreate what they were able to do in that last round, then maybe we won't even end up going there at all.
Time will tell. CCTV, where we head to next, haven't yet seen... In fact, no, we saw this back in the first round of the defensive side, and it was a victory to the side of Rogue. Somewhat comfortably, I'd say. I believe it's the C4 play coming out from below.
Based Karjeka.
Based Karjeka? Oh,
yeah, with his streak. Yeah.
And as the timing, it's almost like it was meant to come up at the same time. Dev saying he's just breakdancing around Cash, painting the walls red. Wonder simply not containing the Estonian. Correct.
Yeah.
That's a very eloquent way of putting it. Breakdancing around, painting the walls red.
I think Dev's just missing casting, so he's got to put some floridness into his language that he uses. Turn it into a bit of a poem, I suppose. Yeah, exactly. Well, obviously, Karjeka is once again going to be on the Maestro, so it could be something that we see repeated. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But BDS are, of course, going to be, now that we've had the rotation of sites, expecting similarly to be held out. One of the big problems that I spoke about before was the fact that Shaiko was a little bit over-eager in moving into Cash and found his head be shot off in the process. So maybe we'll see him play somewhat more reserved, at least in that potential instance, and be able to last a bit longer throughout the round and get some impactful kills before, something like that happens again.
Leon tries he might here, will struggle to find any kills. I don't believe anyone's holding near the edge of the roof. In fact, I lie. As someone steps towards it, might fancy his chances, but it's about the call coming in from his teammates here. Gonna have to blitz it and step out pretty deep if he wants to try and go for this. Else, pulling back towards the site might be the play to go for. I thought at first that him and Alem might clash, former members of Team Secret, of course. Now both here in very, very different circumstances, all the way back at the OG Pit Minor, being the last time that they played together as a unit.
This is what we were talking about earlier when we said how a lot of these teams like to come in through construction first. Not much attention being paid to the server wall from the start. Leon really still hasn't given up on the idea of making this run out. He's just watching his flank as well to be sure that no one's going to be coming for him. But at what point do you decide to move back in towards the site? Half the round has gone down. So it's not necessarily like it's going to be as viable.
Still here?
Yeah.
I am shocked.
Chilling.
Okay, here he goes. Finds the one out on the CCTV window and gets him. There you go. The patience of a saint. Leon bringing down Red Shiro. Yes, not the most critical defender to kill, but attacker to kill, but an attacker nonetheless. And yes, BDS are now going for the focus in towards construction. Things are starting to get opened up, but they've got to worry now about Leon and where is he coming from. Alem is holding back down the way that he came from, all the way looking towards main stairs in case Leon chooses that as his point of return. It would be the sensible choice, but instead, he's opting to look towards stock, and he will be right. If he holds this angle for just a few more seconds, there is someone lurking nearby, but teammates dying upstairs means he's got to start moving.
Yeah, it is a lens that he has to watch out for, but it looks like he's going to be able to bring him down. That's exactly what he does, and still that Roma persists downstairs. Well, as soon as I say that, Shaiko deals with the problem. And they continue on. No man advantage on either side right now, as it is a 3 versus 3 with 20 seconds left to go. Aces gets gunned down, but Shaiko gets traded out in that process. Still, the plant has to be made, and that's going to be a responsibility of Brede. He doesn't have any support, though, because Rafal's going to be taken down too. Corey and Rips, if they work together, can prevent this from happening, but just a couple of seconds left to go. It doesn't even look like the opportunity is going to be there. And Rogue secure themselves another round, evening things up once again. Derry, you said we might be going to overtime. I think it's getting closer.
You can smell it in the air, Gio, it feels like. It's getting closer and closer. And that was an interesting round, because for Leon there, the patience that he showed, we were doubtful for a while. Like, man, it's been 90 seconds and you're still here waiting. Clearly the call that he was waiting to come through from his team of, okay, they're outside of a CCTV window, go for it, now's the time. Played it absolutely perfect, but to then rotate back around and collect LMs by himself without any kind of trade coming through from Shaiko. It did come through about 10 or 15 seconds later, but another one getting caught out, seeing like that was it. The round is done. It's a 5 versus 3. What's the problem? BDS still managed to capitalize, picking up Karjeka upstairs and finding Leon on the downstairs, turning it into a 3 versus 3. I just think the fact that Leon was out on the roam there dragged that timer down a little bit too far, and they were left without much to play with, just having to force it. And as we all know, once the attackers come down to only having a few seconds left in the round, that is when you start seeing mistakes appear.
Well, there was definitely some of the psychological game in there as well, because of the patience. You know, BDS, would have gone all that time without really necessarily worrying about there being such a deep roam. He was so far away, and at that point, once one of your guys goes down, you got to think, damn it, we need to reallocate our resources. We've got to send at least one person downstairs, because as this roamer starts to rotate back to site, we want to catch him out. That's what Alems was there for. They ended up having to send in Shaiko as well, because Alems got taken down. And all in all, it really uses a lot of your resources, and that includes your players themselves. So obviously, going back up to Jim, this is where we came in round 8, and this was another Rogue victory as well.
Twas. 2 rounds back-to-back for either of these teams is the only way to see it go to an absolute conclusion. Otherwise, as we keep on mentioning, overtime will be the way to go. In terms of roaming, it seems no one's really got a massive focus outside of the very normal extended hold that you see coming out of most teams. You stick a couple of them out towards CCTV. You can electrify walls. You can just reinforce walls up entirely. You can play with C4s. Lots of options there and a lot of time to waste on the attacking side. Leon doing what Leon does best and looking to play aggressive inside of stock at the same time, inside of logistics at the same time, sorry. Earlier it was standing on top of the boxes and daring someone to come close enough that he can pick them off. Looks like BDS a little bit too cautious to fall for that trick though.
Yeah, BDS playing it a bit more safe, but we did see Leon gets some value there earlier on, because he did persist even after getting droned out. He got droned out really early, actually, last time, and nonetheless continued to play there. Now, the jacuzzi wall's going to be opened pretty swiftly, not much waiting going around there. And that will just, you know, give BDS some time to drone in.
Yeah, it looks like they've abandoned taking anything to do with CCTV. And normally as the attackers, you want something in there to stop the defenders playing around the CCTV window and threatening you on the south balcony.
But
here they're not even bothering. They're just saying, look, we'll stick someone there ourselves and we'll watch the window and stop them doing that. But no one's looking to play on the balcony. That makes this really one-dimensional. You're only pushing in from jacuzzi wall. And we've spoken so many times around what one-dimensional attacks can do. In some cases, it's about eating C4. Shaiko going to be the first casualty.
yeah, I mean, we saw stuff like that to do with coming in through the east before, but as you mentioned, that is a big loss there as Shaiko goes down. Luckily, both the walls have been open, but you still do have aces all the way over towards the east side, as we did just get a glimpse of him there. That means that control can be held, and there is, of course, the risk of him using the window. Now, that's why you kind of see Rafal holding on to that, but still, you can't necessarily rely on that. And we are seeing a bit of a rotation now come out from BDS, but it is a bit late. 35 seconds remaining. Still got Corey playing in the bathroom as well. It's just very strange pacing that's happening so far.
Just stuns, bro. If you need to burn ADS, just stun him, bro. Sophia's got both left in the back pocket, but not looking to use any of them. Really will find one, and Renshiro even another for them, and they've got on the south balcony. It looks like the Thermite has even got some control here inside of CCTV. Yes, they do, but Rips will take that and fade away in the darkness. Back through construction to try and contest this plant going down. It is going to get stuck behind the reinforced wall. Kills flying left, right, and center. Rips in a 1 versus 2. BDS, with all the control in the world they need, back out on the balcony. They've got the windows to play with. They've got the jacuzzi breach. And with all that work being done out to the east by Brede, this gives them all the agency they need to try and win. 1 versus 1. Can Rips clutch it up here? We mentioned these boys earlier on, whether it came down to clutches or 1vx's, this is where he shines. Got to get this one and get the defuse through. Goes for the spray, doesn't get the down. Got to go back for it again. Renshiro being patient, gonna have to go for it again, but no! Renshiro closes it out. They force it up to 6 points. They have the option to win this map, but they've got to take the next round.
I was going to say how this is a really horrible place to try and do a retake because of those angles that can be held. But when Rips got the first kill, I was like, all right, Rips, I see what you're doing. Let's see what else you can do. And it almost looked like actually he was suddenly at a loss for information. It wasn't until Renshiro shot through the soft wall that Rips had a much more solidified idea of his positioning. Then as he started to come in through Master, he saw him. It wasn't enough. He couldn't get the kill on him. And yeah, at the end, Renshiro, he secured it, but that was so very close. And Rips did significantly better than I actually thought that he had the opportunity to do in that situation. As you say, Derry, BDS, they are on match point now. Very close to being able to take this map for themselves. But Rogue obviously have had a decent defense so far. There's still that chance that they could hold on to this as well and force it into overtime.
So unlucky, because that really would have started Rips' claim towards being the best clutcher in the division. Back in Pro League Season 11, he did indeed come out as the top clutcher, 7 of them in that season. Corey was the one who was the strongest on entry with plus 12, and Aces, I think as many know by now, came out as the strongest with plus 42. Speaking of Aces, 1-7 since we came back from that rehost in round number 3. Hasn't been the game. We keep on speaking around this inconsistency across the team. It's very weird that here we aren't speaking about Leon or about Aces really, but instead are looking towards players like Rips to come up big for the team.
Well, he did come up fairly big in that last round, and there's still the opportunity to do so once again. BDS know how close they are to the victory on this map. After this, it will be Consulate that they head on over to, which will be able to facilitate their aggression a bit more. I think, obviously, naturally, slightly less of a methodical map than Clubhouse, or at least known to be. They've got to get through this next round first. It's going to be the stock hatch, opened up fairly swiftly. Remember, Blue was able to be cleared out pretty quick last time that hatch was opened. A kill straight on in. And that's going to be the drone. Just disappeared straight away. They know exactly where the player they need to deal with is. The question is, can they get that kill?
That's always a big question. Can you get the kill? Can you win the round? It's how Siege tends to work.
That's the only question.
It is. Well, can you get the plant down? There's a few questions you can ask about teams here. Let's see how this one plays out. They're starting to get themselves into the spots that we all know and love. Hallway being smashed to pieces by that sledgehammer. Hatches being opened up. I don't know if they've got kitchen just yet. It seems like most of the members of Rogue, can't see all of them, I believe they are all playing on the downstairs.
Oh, Shaiko's on his way. Oh, I guess not actually. Shaiko's going to be going down the stairs instead. Never mind. He's not going to be going for that kitchen hatch instead. But they are being very thorough with the droning, which I think is good. As I said earlier on, one of the things BDS did a bit was kind of too aggressive through certain doorways, things like that. They don't really want to be risking themselves in that same way. Shaiko is going to be guided down once again.
It's a goo mine. Why
yeah.
not?
Well, they knew he was there anyway. They knew that someone was on the stairs.
It's interesting how we've seen the changes between, for BDS this is, mind you, between the Goyo and the Legion, whereas here Rogue opted to bring both and dropping down the Bandit instead. Leon's dropping down Rafael. That'd be one gone. The sledge from above as well. That's a pretty critical kill because those vertical angles when you're looking for a plant inside of Armory can be absolutely huge. If you want to take control of Church, normally you're looking towards a blue hole. Right now, I don't think they have that, and that is my slight concern. You can see Elema and Shiro kind of squaring up forward out towards blue, and there is some focus for the hard breach coming in towards Church Wall. So maybe that is going to be the angle now that the sledge is dead.
Well, Leon Gibbs is going to be dead as well as Bride drops straight in, and Alem's adding a 2k onto that as well. Just Corey and Rips remaining on the side of Rogue, and suddenly it looks very likely that BDS will have the chance to take this round, and therefore the map. Rips getting close, but Corey just stands up straight into the bullets. Rips can gun down one, he guns down two, can he gun down three? Yes, he can, but it's not enough. BDS, they take the map. They take the round, despite the fact that we thought Rogue would have it all on the defense. They just couldn't hold it up. BDS get one tally on the board. Oh, my diaphragm.
I'm so heartbroken for Rips. 2 rounds where he had massive opportunities to clutch, but just couldn't quite complete the final kill to close it out there. You put anyone in a 4v1 like that, you pretty much write them off in saying there's just no way anything happens here. You no way they can win it, but he's almost made it happen twice. But sadly, that twice that it didn't happen was enough for BDS to take that first map. Clubhouse being Rogue's map pick has gone against them. Consulate comes up next. I'm nervous for them, Gio. I'm nervous.
I'm nervous because this is a team that a lot of people, myself included, thought were basically guaranteed to make it into the grand finals. So many people were like, yeah, it's going to be a Rogue G2 grand finals. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Because I'm not so sure now. Well, okay, we don't know that yet, but like
it's the one worry I had coming out of it. To be fair, yesterday when we came into this, I looked at the predictions I put up before of Rogue winning it and said, actually, I think G2 take it because for Rogue, we're seeing that inconsistency building up. And look at this game here, aces, 1 kill across the whole map. That's not what's befitting of someone that once held that title of the best KD player in Europe. There must be more to come from him on Consulate. Otherwise, Rogue's dreams, doesn't matter if it's online or at LAN, they end early, and that would be an absolute catastrophe given they finished in first place in the regular split. Let's go to some replays and a quick break, and when we get back, the analysts and then map number 2. See you in a few.
Attackers recovered the diffuser. 5 seconds.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We were talking about this match between Rogue and BDS so fervently because both of them are the top two in EU, at least coming in from stage one. Yet somehow, some way, they're sitting in the losers bracket, fighting off against one another. Clubhouse, a tight map, but it was always so close. The last couple of rounds on their own, Tim. I mean, those were enough to put a man down.
They came down to the wire, and we knew this was going to be a close game. Both of them fighting for their lives inside of the EU Major now. And the story coming into it was that we needed to see improvements from Rogue, particularly. We needed to see them start picking up their attacks and just getting in there more clinically, more effectively. And that wasn't something they could do going 2 and 4 on the half. And it just proved to be too much of a mountain for them to climb. But still, they are in and they are fighting. Consulate's going to be a big ask, though.
Yeah, I think obviously when you look at how close to the wire, when it was two teams where we said they've kind of got to show up and show a little bit extra, it was for now BDS, but obviously how close could it have been? And the turn of the half, when they started to pull rounds back, we saw after the rehost, Leon had, I think it was a 0-3, and then had a round where he completely pulled it back into his own. That was one of the highlight players we talked about before, where he was able to pull rounds earlier in the day. And here, it's still a closer story, but it's still, both teams have more they can give.
I mean, both teams are very comfortable on the defense, something that you come to expect in Clubhouse. Yes, in Europe, the metagame is a bit more solidified than it is in other regions, where you look at APAC and you're like, whoa, they're just winning all the attacking rounds. What's going on? But that was map number 1. That's Clubhouse. Overall defense win rate, as you can see with the graphic here on the side, 59% defense win rate overall. So a fairly defensive-sided map when it comes to Europe, that is. With the 6th time, it was played online. This does not count the matches that we have so far gone through in the major. That said, map 2 is Consulate. Now, that was a map that BDS obviously played. They played against G2 only an hour or so ago, and that ended in a 7-4. The attacking side of BDS allowed them to kind of fight back with 3 extra rounds. There was a lot more back and forth between them and G2 on that map. Maybe this is even a better position for BDS to be in, especially after that map 1 away.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to realize, obviously, when we saw them on the Consulate game earlier, they heated up. They started slow again, and, you know, you were against a pretty hefty force in the way G2 were playing, and it's always hard to compare and contrast between the winning teams in the previous brackets and kind of say how they might shape up against each other. It's an impossible prediction, but G2 weren't dropping anything. There were no mistakes, nothing to take advantage of. So when BDS took rounds, it was purely from them taking rounds well.
Yep.
They've got to win. They're looking at a map. They've already got some heat on. They've got some warm-up on. It's looking good for BDS right now.
To push your point even further, Fluke, for those that didn't watch the interview with Uno, he was very clear that although G2 had a pretty big clamp on Consulate, the rounds that BDS took, they completely outplayed G2 in them. So more power to BDS, I guess, coming into this map, looking at Rogue and their problems. Tim, you mentioned that before, that Aces tweeted, hey, we need to work on our attacks on Clubhouse, something maybe to carry on into map 2 Consulate.
They certainly do need to, and I think really for Rogue to have any success here on Consulate, 2 things need to happen for them. Personally, I think they need to start on the attack, and they need to improve the attacks, because we saw BDS against G2, and as Uno said himself, outclassed in some ways because they just had so much variety on the attack, and I feel like if they come in with that as their starting point, they are potentially going to knock Rogue for 6 before they even get themselves into the game, and I think it will be very difficult for Rogue to shut them down at that point. So for me, Rogue need to come in on the attack where BDS were weaker on the defense. They showed cracks, they were dominated on the entry game by Citizen, and that's something that Rogue need to continue on and need to get themselves that lead, get themselves that breathing space before they have to face up to those difficult Amaru plays and all the wild and wonderful things that we saw BDS bringing on the attack.
Actually, I'm going to take a look at who's starting on which side. But in the meantime, I'd like you guys to kind of elaborate a bit more on what sort of things Rogue can do to slow down BDS, looking at BDS's game versus G2 on this map, maybe operators to take away from BDS.
I mean, it's always a bit of a hard one here because when BDS are playing their best, it's this combination. It's a perfect kind of pattern and synergy, which is synonymous with the French scene, as they were the region that built up this slow, hefty, heavy playstyle that nobody else could do. Yeah, sure, you don't see that anymore too much or to a degree, but those lessons, those life lessons, are still integrated into how the community plays in the game that they like to bring. So it becomes a little bit harder to kind of pick and pull operators about. And in the same breath, you can kind of say the same about Rogue, unfortunately, is they're a heavy passion-driven team. They know what they need and they need to be aggressive. And sometimes it's hard to swan that when you're against a team that can match that passion with pace. For me, it doesn't really come down to operators.
Okay, let's talk about this then. BDS go for the attack. Obviously, it was BDS's pick, this map specifically. So it went over to Rogue to decide which side they start on, and they start on defense. Looking at how BDS played against G2, something to fear?
I think it could be. Personally, we've just mentioned operators. It may well sound like a knee-jerk reaction, but I'd be considering an Amaru ban as a target against BDS. We saw Renshiro putting him to great use. Throw any sort of spanner you can in the works at this point and just stop them rinsing and repeating what they did so well against G2, because if they have the opportunity, they're going to do it again, and they're going to use Renshiro to get up through those hatches and get that diffuser down. And it's a bit of a gamble from Rogue, I think.
Still sticking to BDS, Ace?
Yes.
Fluke?
Hey, pros don't fake.
Okay. We are indeed professionals, as some may say. That's what it says on the plaque. Read it and wait. All right. Fluke, Tim, thank you so much for your input on this. We might be coming back for our map 3 and talking about Oregon, but if that does not happen, then it means the game is done there and there. BDS, can they move on through the low bracket, defeat Rogue on our second map, Consulate? Who knows? It's up to Rogue to show us in this game. Maybe take it to a map 3. Rogue start off on the defense, BDS on the attack. It's UK Massive on the caster side. All yours.
You hear that, Gio? Or do you just call? Oh yeah, sorry, you got the right hand signal. Yeah, that's the one.
UK Massive! I've got
That's what it's all about.
Flags. There you go. There's two UK flags.
It's a bit of a stretch. They're pillows, actually, I think you'll
They
find.
are
Even if you
pillows.
missold them, you might want to take them back and get an exchange in for actual flags. But hey, it's still the UK flag on a pillow. I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you know
So,
what?
Gio, we spoke about this before, and we used a choice word to describe what each of us are for the maps that we've seen. You are a Consulate something. I'll leave everyone to decide what that might be. I know you love this map. I know you're dying to see how these two play here. BDS or Rogue,
Yes.
who takes it for you once you're over your giggle fit?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I really want to believe that Rogue could, but I think BDS really have the advantage here. Their play style suits it so well. They're not afraid to be aggressive today. Rogue have looked more aggressive, but also, and I've mentioned it a couple of times today, and I hate myself for it, but I'm still haunted by the Rogue Chaos game on Consulate. And I can't get it out of my head.
I mean, look, the way I was talking to Fresh about this earlier, the analyst for Chaos, and I said to him, truthfully, mate, I don't count any of your games against other teams as a good benchmark of how they perform, because you just have no idea what Chaos team you're going to wake up to that day.
Yeah.
Some days they like beat the best, some days they lose to the worst, other days it's flipped around. It can be so confusing. So I'll take it with a pinch of salt. We'll see how this one plays out. We
that's
spoke
fair.
about it a little bit earlier. BDS had an absolute field day against the side of Chaos. When it came to playing against Tempera, things were a little bit different. And the real beauty, I think, in this game right now is we've already seen BDS playing this today as well. Not too long ago, in fact, we saw them making a lot of use of the Amaru to mixed success. So it's all going to come down to me, how Rogue deal with the attacking side coming out of BDS. Can they shut them down early and be aggressive? Or are we going to see BDS being given the opportunity to get to every single window that exists, as Shaiko tried to do on Clubhouse?
Yeah, I think, again, it comes down to a lot of the taking the opportunities for aggression. I think, obviously, Shaiko's someone who's going to really need to be watched out for, how he approaches his entry.
Man,
and
we haven't
things
said
like
that for a few weeks.
I know.
It has been a while. I was really happy to see him step up the way that he did last time. But we've got to see it happen again. Because let's not forget, right? This is do or die for Rogue as well. They lose here, they are done. It is over, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
It is crazy, but no, you are right. It was very refreshing to see Shaiko play really well, and also because he's so much fun to watch. But this is the thing, so are Rogue when they're at their top, and this is why we need them to be speeding it up. As you say, the stakes are at an all-time high right now. Rogue, this team, who so many thought would be guaranteed the grand finals here, they thought finally we would see them overcome their LAN issues, as I say in inverted commas, because we're obviously not on LAN. This would be the major where we actually see Rogue really, really do well and shine. And right now, they are at the precipice of losing it all and being the first team to find themselves out of the competition. That is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. So everything is going to come down here to Consulate, and we need to be seeing that coordination, the consistency from Rogue. We saw Rips, we saw Karjeka have fantastic moments on Clubhouse. We need more of that, please. More of that.
Alma Jordica, my predictions then are therefore clearly no longer cursed. BDS power, sit down, Rogue. It's being broken slowly. Look, me and Ace, we just knew, right? We just had it in our veins. We knew what was coming. I say that, there's still a map to go. And the fact I've now said that probably means the whole thing gets cursed, so well done to me. Let's see how the first couple of rounds play out. To kick things off, bit of an interesting lineup coming out of the side of BDS. That Amaru that we mentioned earlier on, drawing some inspiration from Tempera, their French brethren. They used it an awful lot in the regular season. Frenchero tried to make a couple of interesting plays earlier, coming from Garage up through the lobby hatch, or coming up through Piano after the team spent about, 2 minutes getting set up inside of Piano. They used that to sip inside of the site and get the plant down, and they did it in flawless execution. Quite literally, G2 did not get a single kill against any member from the side of BDS. So Rogue, I hope to God you're watching that series, because there's a lesson to learn here if that's where the focus comes in from BDS.
Also unbelievably unsurprising that LMS has decided to bring IQ. Oh, potential run out here. LMS has decided to bring the IQ because obviously Valkyrie made it through the ban phase. Not something that's all that common here on Consulate. She's almost always a must ban, so they know that those cams are going to be in play. They know that there is the risk for runouts, and that's also why you bring the Nomad as well. You want to prevent any of those wide flanks, any of those rotations from being made. So BDS have really set themselves up to deal with a lot of that potential. What I also find interesting is kind of slight switches on roles. Previously, when we've seen this yellow stairs hold be made by Rogue, it's been Leon who we've seen on the dock, whereas Aces has been taking on, actually Corey, in fact, has been taking on the Jaeger, not Aces. In goes the C4, out goes the C4, but doesn't actually find anyone as it gets stuck in the window frame.
Into the window frame it goes, I guess you could say, but no one lurking close enough. It is fine, because if it lands there and someone is just next to it, they are still going to die to the explosion, but a little bit optimistic, I think there was probably the worry. Looking at how things are set up, it's all down to Leon here and what damage he can cause if he pushes down yellow. You can see a couple of members are basing themselves around Piano, looking maybe for that play with the Amaru once more. Frenchero, I think, is just going to zip his way straight up into the windows leading in, or the double window leading in towards console rather than through the hatch. Here we go. This could be it. Execution time. We're at that 50-second mark. It's always around here where they try and make stuff happen. And clearing out yellow stairs, that's the play they needed, because now they can get in and make a plant without being challenged. Here we go.
That's what I wanted to say, as Red Shiro zooms straight in, and he is going to be getting the plant down. Shaiko adding a kill onto that as well. Corey taken down. A couple of kills coming out from Rogue, though, and if they could start to even this out, this could work in their favor, but Bride says no, as he leaves just Rips and Karjeka remaining on the side of Rogue. Fighting through the smokes that have been brought out by Rips, and Karjeka is going to be able to get that kill onto Shaiko, but they still have to bear in mind the fact that the diffuser is live. With Karjeka gone, it's all on Rips. We've seen him nearly clutch out before, but there's two players out here on the rappel. The crossfire is ready. There's no way he can do it, and he doesn't. Bride ensures that is the case, and BDS take the first round.
Patience coming out of BDS. I love seeing it, because you think about them, you think, oh, Shaiko runs through a bunch of people and kills them. They like to play fast, they play aggressive. That's how they do things. This strategy that we've now seen a few times today shows a very different side to BDS. One that's of patience, one that is of timing, one that is about playing as a unit and playing as a team to get that plant down. And like I say, it's great to see a change coming out in their play style. The trigger there was Leon going down on yellow. Once he's removed, no one can spray you from yellow stairs to stop you going in. And I think you're going to have to see teams starting to come up with new ideas here. If they're going to get into a spot where they can contest someone trying to get in through the window like the Amaru does, much faster, of course, than trying to repel in. Now that change came through a couple of patches ago, you need to have some more ways than just one player on yellow looking to contest that. Otherwise, it's far too easy for the Skylight players to deal with them and make that plant far too easy. So a little bit of adaptation needed from Rogue. I'm looking forward to round 4 when we might see them go back to that site. And that way, we'll see if they actually get to do something a bit different. I say that, they're doing it now, apparently. I thought they might go for a full rotation. They're one of those teams that will try again if they fail.
I was going to say, might decide to go back to their site. Mate, they're already here. Now, obviously, the Amaru was picked on the 6th pick, but you would assume that Rogue know that that's exactly going to be there once again.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the whole thing with the Amaru is the element of surprise, or at least the element of immediacy. The way she just jumps in through the window like a graceful frog. I'm very...
Whoa. A graceful frog.
It's the first thing I thought of that
Gio,
jumps.
please explain to me why your brain thought graceful frog was 2 words you can link together.
Look, I was going for graceful regardless. I had to come up with an animal, and frog was the first one. It was first in the line. We just got to go with it. Rogue have just got to go with whatever it is BDS bring at them, but this time you'd hope they're going to be better prepared for it, because obviously last time it was a bit too much.
They're putting a big focus onto yellow stairs as well. They're almost saying, look, we know that Leon's playing here. We want to get him removed before we look for another execute, the same as last round. I guess the challenge then somewhat comes in if we can see Rogue looking to play defensively in Piano, trying to play for C4s. That could be the go-to play. The biggest worry being that BDS have already in the last round shown that there is definitely a focus inside of Piano for them, because they got in there first, cleared that out, set down a couple of drones to make sure it was safe, then got outside the building and went for the plant. So it's all going to be about the adaptation piece of Rogue here and what they changed. Like I said at the end of the last round, things need to change. They can't do the same thing again.
I like this opening up of the floor there. That applies so much pressure onto those above. And you were saying exactly that. You've got to clear out the yellow stairs area in order to do anything. Karjeka is looking for a run out here, but he's not able to find anyone just yet. And obviously he doesn't want to be detected. So just darting in and out. Now, there was sort of a run out attempted last time. If I remember correctly, nothing actually came of it. They just detected an enemy outside. But you would suppose at some point, especially given the information that's available, the Rogue are going to be able to make a successful one eventually. That won't be it, though.
Trying to make something happen, and I admire that it's Karjeka looking to do it rather than someone like Leon, who seems to be the player out of every single window. It's like he's passing the spirit on and saying, guys, I can't do it this round because I'm holding yellow. Please, someone carry on my legacy and get out a door or a window somewhere. No kills being found. Karjeka back towards site. They know what's coming. They know they're setting up for a similar sort of setup once more. The only difference it seems to be this time round is Renshiro is inside, Piano looking to go through the hatch rather than through the window. Oh, that's too easy.
Oh, I was going to say that was very close, but actually he was able to dink him on the head, but he gets dinked back by Renshiro as he's straight into the site. Alem's joining on as well, and this could once again be a repeat of what we saw before, where BDS are just able to take control of CEO and move on in. Now, it's that C4 that's been placed, I guess, but Ace is so close to it, he won't be able to do anything with it, but he gets gunned down immediately. Renshiro begins the plan. It's a little bit later than it was last time, but it's better late than never, especially when there's only one player on the defense you're going up against. Karjeka is brutally low on HP and probably running on very low information as he starts to gun through the ceiling.
Comes down again to the fact that they couldn't deal, or Leon couldn't deal with the aggression that came in towards yellow, even when he was being juiced up by Corey, and Corey wasn't too far away to support him. BDS just know where to put their attention. And it's just uncomfortable when you have 1 or 2 players holding a location where there are 5 aggressors starting to push in towards you. Doesn't seem to matter whatever Rogue try and do, BDS just have an answer, and I expect here we'll move away from that site. Trying it for a 3rd time will make things incredibly difficult, given how well BDS has shown both variations. The one where the Amaru goes through the window or the one where she goes through the hatch, both have proven to be absolutely no problem. We now go into lobby and press. First port of call for me, make sure you get that hatch in the middle circle reinforced inside a lobby. Otherwise, you're going to find Renshiro playing below and looking to cause some trouble. Earlier on, he found a double kill when he came up top. Say all that, switches away from the Amaru. not going to be a problem this round.
Lobby and Press, which actually has a higher defensive win rate in EU currently, is sat at 57%, whereas CEO Meeting is the lowest at 46. That's actually drawn with Garage and Cafeteria. And this is why it's a very big conversation, especially you hear them talk about it in NA a lot, about the fact that CEO Meeting has really dipped out of a lot of teams' favor. For many teams, it has been the primary bomb site for a long time, and many teams are now choosing to go to somewhere like Lobby Press instead at the start. Obviously, Rogue decided that they would commit to CEO for 2 rounds in a row. Evidently, that didn't work out for them. And it does make it concerning, because if they do have to return there at some point in this half, what have they given themselves to believe that they'll be able to make that any different to how it went last time? So I think it's a good thing that they're coming here to Lobby and Press. They should have, statistically, a better chance at the defense, but I think they really need to be taking advantage of things like the Valkyrie more than they have done thus far, because if you have her available, you got to be playing more aggressive on those runouts and things like that, because it's a big point of having her, and you might as well take the opportunity.
I guess the big fear you've got is the fact that Rafale's playing on this Nomad, though, and the damage he can do, of course, if you tried to go jumping out of a window. We mentioned it in the earlier matchup for BDS on this map when it came against G2, saying, okay, double jump outs are coming out of Meeting. One gets hit by the air jab, the second can try and go for a kill. It's the fact that you have to commit so much, and if it goes wrong, well, you're basically done and dusted. And Shaiko straight up these stairs with no problems asked. Aces gets dusted out, and that's Meeting cleared. This vertical hold that's coming out of Rogue absolutely makes sense, but they've just lost a massive portion of the map.
Yeah, he just had no idea that he was there. You would assume one of the defenders would have been looking at a camera or something that would allow them to understand if anybody was coming in through admin, but of course it was so early, as you mentioned, that they maybe just necessarily weren't expecting it. Really big loss there for Rogue, especially when you have the utility like the C4, which I assume is what he had on him, that's now been lost, and the option for that to be involved in some kind of denial as well. But Rogue still have a number of players who need to be cleared out of the top floor. BDS could, of course, go in for a rush, I suppose, and not worry about it, but I don't think that's going to be the way it goes. As a trade backwards and forwards comes out, and Rips and Renshiro find themselves down, and also finding themselves down is the player who was carrying the diffuser. It's going to be Bride removed, and suddenly only 2 players remaining here for BDS.
Got to worry about Shaiko. Always got to worry about Shaiko and what he can do. Leon had a bit of free agency on the top floor, but now that they know he's sat watching this diffuser, this is their chance to go a bit more aggressive. They have got time here, and not even bothering with drones. Oh my word! Someone stop him. And Leon, man, dude, you've had a great day, but Shaiko in this series is on fire. He is looking electric. Massive shot coming out, and yes, it's only the 3rd round. These are the kind of rounds that you look back on when you're sat at 6-5 and just thinking, man, how different this game could have been. Going for a plan inside of the bar. I think one upstairs, maybe Karjeka lurking, knows roughly what's going on, but can't get the right angle. That's plant going down. You're probably going to find them hightailing it out of the site, out of the building, and it's going to come down to a run out or something crazy to try and make this work for Karjeka.
And he doesn't even have a C4 on him, as he's decided to bring a shield for this round, so it's not like he can throw that out of a window and at least hope to find a kill that way. So really, it is just going to be him in a 1 versus 2, and he's going to have to use the MPX to do it. He doesn't know where these players are. He's got to check every single angle, just pre-firing in the hopes he'll catch someone just outside the main door. He knows there's a player. It's Shaiko, and Shaiko, we've seen what he can do. Man, that kill onto Leon was disgusting.
Yeah, it's like the little pixel angle as well of his head that he caught out was the worst part.
I didn't see him. I knew he was there, but I would not have seen him.
Yo, he's got a massive orange outline on him.
No, yes, I saw that.
I'm picking at your word choice. I said, even I didn't see him, and I was like, well, you did, just you wouldn't have seen him in game, which I don't think anyone would have. But that's what makes him so good, is he can hit shots like those.
Crazy.
Big round for Shaiko, another one to BDS, storming their way through the attack, and I do start to wonder, now that we've been across those 3, where does a win come from for Rogue? Evidently, they think the basement is going to be the answer to all of their woes. This is where they might be able to find a win. If they do not, they have lost top floor twice, they've lost lobby pretty convincingly, and then they'll have lost basement. This could end up being a 6-0 half for BDS, which would be phenomenal.
The problem that you have to consider is it's not just about Rogue trying to figure out where they can win from a strategic perspective, but also from a mental perspective. As you say, they are on the cusp of potentially losing everything. Coming in being so strong, being so revered, so much veneration surrounding them, and now suddenly you could be the first team to be leaving the major representing your region, when such a big part of it for you is proving that you aren't going to be hindered by these major events and you can push through further than people have come to expect you to do. That's weighing on their minds, and suddenly the first 3 rounds of this map have not gone their way. It is a daunting prospect, and that is another fight that Rogue are going to be having with themselves, let alone the one that they're having against BDS right now.
Absolutely right. And I think you speak to any team that has been in a big game, a best of 3, even a best of 5 in a grand final, they will tell you how important momentum is. Heck, look at NIP from back at SI 2020. It hit that midway point of the series. They were 2-0 up on Clubhouse, doing well. You can almost see the exact round that the switch changed and everything started going against them. They even said after the series, we were our own worst enemy. We lost to ourselves today. And no doubt Rogue, I know that they're an emotional team. I know that Leon has been dying for years to get his chance to succeed at the top level after Secret fell from Grace, and this felt like that chance. And I do worry that there is an element of doubt creeping in here. Hasn't played too well so far today. This game he is being completely outshone by Shoko. Admittedly, it's a thing that many of us suffer with, Leon, so I wouldn't beat yourself up about it too much if you are worried about that.
We are all outshone by Shoko.
We are all outshone by Shoko. Admittedly, not for most of the season, but today in this game, absolutely. Either way, I wouldn't get too stressed out about it. Just play your game, boys. You've been working on this, and there is a reason why you finished first in the UL.
Karchak is just moving back because he wasn't quite able to see anyone, and he's going to narrowly avoid the nade. He does take a little bit of damage, but does get away into safety, so at least all the members of Rogue are still standing as BDS continue to work on opening the garage wall. Or door, I suppose.
Only 90 seconds in, and no one's died. It's a good start. Shoko has been tamed. Hired a lion tamer, and he's had to settle down for at least 90 seconds, but soon enough, the beast will be unleashed once more. A big focus coming out towards the west. Garage, always the way. It's something else we called these boys out for a couple of times today. Why are you focusing and struggling so hard on a Maverick when something like a Thermite will do just as fine? Corey manages to nip one in the bud and collect a lem. It's not really critical right now, but it's still going to be painful. Finally, after 2 minutes, they've got their way into Garage. Now it's a case of dealing with these gadgets.
Going to start clearing them out, and this is where that Maverick could be especially useful, as he has already used one of his nades, but he still has one standing. You could use that to clear out some of that utility, or maybe clear out one of the players if you get so lucky. Now they have everything completely open. This is where Rogue have got to be far more concerned about what it is that's pointing in on them. There was that other nade. It failed to secure the kill onto Rips, who's behind White Fan. But Shoko doesn't fail to secure a kill onto Leon.
Oh no, Leon again.
Yeah, the first casualty there for Rogue. The second is going to be Rips as Shoko just moves on forward.
Shouldn't be allowed to walk up as freely like this as he is right now. Corey finds 2 from above. That's a pretty big reverse. Uno reverse card has been played, but that's not going to stop the plant going down. Brede on the spot. And Shoko no doubt thinking, where are they? Who can I hunt down here? Ace is springing back in towards the site. They didn't commit the plant. What happened? They came off it and haven't bothered with it. Now they've got to try and do a switch in towards cafeteria.
Oh.
One's watching up close. No way. Shiko's so big to win that. Corey on a triple kill. So is Shiko. All comes down to this. It's a quadra kill. Ace or bust. You've got to get the defuse out of this one as well. Brede, the player we spoke about so much at the start of the season. Quite lately, it all comes down to this. It ain't Rips. No, it's not. No clutch opportunity. It's Brede to win it out. And BDS take the 4th round. But my God, was that not close?
Oh, that was still a monstrous round there for Corey. The fact he was able to secure all that for himself. And were it not for Brede to be hiding prone behind the table, maybe he would have been able to pull that one out. But yeah, I mean, you said it there. Shiko really shouldn't have had the opportunity to move up so aggressively and so far forward. As Aces came scrambling down the spiral stairs, it looked like he didn't necessarily know where he was going. There wasn't I don't want to say full understanding, but there was still that feeling of panic. Of course there was. And then he moved up so close that he could have got that kill into Kitchen, wasn't able to secure it. And once again, it's just a blow, not only on the score line for Rogue, but also on the egos, on their just everything, their hearts, their minds, everything that is in this game for them. I mean, one of the things that Ace and I brought up in the first game of the day when we were on the desk was that looking back at the Raleigh Major, which was a year ago, Giants, who is now Rogue, went out in the quarterfinals. They were out in the first round. Since then, as far as I'm aware, Rogue have always been a group stage kind of team. And now it looks like it could be a first round again.
It's so painful how it just keeps on happening. They look so promising, that they look like one of the best teams going at the time, and then it comes to an event like this and they fall apart. And a lot of that comes down to the inconsistency in play style I've referred to a few times today, where it is coming down to the mid-round fragging capabilities of players like Leon and Aces, who, by the way, still not having a good game, only 1 kill across 4 rounds. They needing to wake up like super soon, else this is over and done. But again with them, I think because it comes down to the mid-round frags, their entry stats aren't particularly amazing this season. Teams, when it comes around to playing maps rather than just an individual best of one that they can prep the hell for, when it comes to longer series is where you're really going to see them start to struggle. And that is how it's looking today, and maybe is a really good suggestion for why best of 3s can be so rough.
A slight change has been made here by Rogue. Is Ace going to be able to get that shot? Yes! See, I said I wanted a successful run out, and I knew I would get one eventually. Nice one there, Aces. But what I was going to say is Leon Gids has taken on the Maestro. Karjeka now is on the dock instead. So they've switched things around somewhat, whereas Leon was previously playing on the dock. Actually, Leon was on Jaeger, and it was Corey on the dock, so quite a bit. That was very close. Narrowly missing there, and Shaiko's actually taken a decent amount of damage as a result.
Sharpen up those reaction times, my boy. Maybe you'll hit the head next time. Don't worry, I couldn't do it either. If we managed to connect that shot, I think, onto the aggressor of Shaiko, that would have been huge given how well he's been playing so far, and it removes the pressure that's on yellow stairs. You can see Corey lurking around below, just trying to do something. But on the side of BDS, at the very least, there's this big focus leaning out towards the west. The one thing I'm somewhat concerned about is that Renshiro is dead, the Amaru is gone. There's a big reliance on that on this site to go for a plant with. They're not going to have that choice. Corey springs out, finds one, almost gets the second. But Rafal, who himself has had a pretty quiet first map, I believe he had 1 kill at the very end of it, finds a pretty crucial kill to keep BDS in this round.
I don't know if Corey was expecting Rafal to be there, because he knew that a lens was on the drone as soon as he threw it into yellow stairs and sent it upwards. He knew he could take the shot, he knew he could take the kill and the opportunity, but I don't think he was expecting the Nomad to be right there as well. And obviously you could see just how he went for the kill. He wasn't overly prepared for it, and so the trade did come out. Maybe the lack of the IQ will help them out, but the Aces C4 is definitely going to help them out, especially when it brings down someone like Shaiko.
Looking now in a spot where it's a 2 versus 3. It's Bride and Rafal with a lot to do, but going for a plant literally the other side of this wall. This is all too easy. The upside down, Rapal is waiting though. Triggers almost a second thing as someone's in the main hall, but he is wrong. Both finished off, it feels like. There we go. In a flash, it's over. Rogue win the round. They get themselves the first one on the board. It took a while, but finally it gives them a little bit of breathing room and a little bit of confidence that just maybe Geo will see map number 3.
I think what I'm really happy about that round is we had so many concerns after the first 2 rounds that maybe Rogue would struggle consistently on this site, but they changed things up. They switched who was on which operator. They switched out the positioning. They didn't have this top yellow hole as we see more traditionally amongst a lot of teams that Rogue have really favored throughout the EU League. We saw things kind of change a bit. Corey obviously downstairs. Yeah, his run out ended in a trade, but the point still stands is they tried something different and something different worked. It's still a steep hill to climb. They still have a way to go if they want to be pulling Consulate in their favor. They don't have a choice if they want to stay in this competition, but at the very least, they have that glimpse of hope that they can hold on to push themselves forward.
Hope is probably the best thing they can ride on right now, but also a bit of self-confidence should be built into it as well. Downstairs we go. We saw this a couple of rounds ago, where Rogue are clearly choosing to put their final defense and hoping things can work out. Last time it was a bit of a kill fest, dare we say. Corey with a 4K, Shaiko finding 3K, and then Bride in the final 1 versus 1 to win the round out for them. I'm not 100% sure Lightning can strike twice. I love Corey, but relying on someone to do that again doesn't really tend to happen. So we'll see what the difference is going to be this time round, who the difference maker steps up to be for the side of Rogue. And hopefully this time round, it's enough, because it is the most tilting thing in the world to get 4 kills and still lose a round.
Well, it is once again an example of some changes up with the operators here, because if I remember correctly, it was Kajeka who was on Maestro again. So it looks like Leon's really taken to that role. That was kind of an unfortunate landing there for the Black Eye, because it just landed straight in the middle of the wide open plane. But yeah, so you know, things like how Kajeka was positioned really far forward last time. Was it Kajeka? Was he on the Maestro before on this site?
I can't remember, truthfully.
Well,
I just remember who got a lot of kills, and it was Corey and Shaiko. I'm a simple man.
Well, either way, the point that I was going to make is maybe they won't have such a far-forward defense, but actually when Leon gets positioned there from the get-go, I was going to say, well, I'm just wrong immediately. Maybe we'll be able to get some kills this time, though. Just the position. It's getting ready for them. But the big problem last time was the fact that Shaiko was able to push forward so much so quickly. There were the nades that came in that really forced a lot of those players back. Rips and the Maestro, whether it was Kajeka or Leon, both had that last time. They lost one of the Evil Eyes as a result as well.
The more I think about it, the more I'm understanding why they're bringing the Maverick here. They want some frag grenades to make use of, but don't want to bring the Sledge, because they want to bring this other lineup that we're seeing coming out of them that includes the Nomad and the IQ. And normally you don't get that much variety in what you can choose to bring along, but because they're trying to sacrifice things out and saying, you know what, Maverick works just fine for us, that's why it does kind of work. I still stand by the earlier point that I've made now, where teams like G2 were getting this wall open inside 30 seconds. 2 minutes later, they're only just starting to get the wall open on the Maverick and only just starting to look for an execute. And you know what? Maybe you don't need loads of time. Maybe you only need the final 20 seconds to go for an execute inside of this site. I'm just not 100% sure by it. And the grenades are never really connecting onto the right people either, so I don't know. It's one of the things I'll stay skeptical of BDS. I apologize.
It's really not something you can necessarily rely on. Now, I was actually going to point this out. Well, Leon's going down. First kill once again, but I was going to mention Corey going on this wide roam here. Now, obviously, one of the things we saw do very well last time was the fact he had the vertical control. So as VDS made that push in, he was able to stunt it quite a bit. Now, you expect BDS to potentially be expecting something like that once again, and actually seeing LMs watch out for yellow stairs here, because bearing in mind that Aces is pushing down there as well. But the point is, having that vertical control could be incredibly valuable for BDS, and Corey is showing straight away that that looks like what it's gonna be. Oh god, a Claymore kill, but 2 kills for Kajeka, so he's gonna be stunting off. Can he make it a third? Not quite just yet, but the diffuser has been dropped.
Falco getting from behind here and find one for himself. So it is a 2 versus 2. Not able to get there in time, though. I'm pretty sure this is done and dusted. They go for the sprays, lay down. It's into a 1 versus 1. Not going to be enough time, I don't feel, to close things out. Rogue will be very, very thankful of getting a second round in this half, given how poorly it started. But a round is a round. A win is a win. And it's yet even more padding towards that inevitable, or not quite inevitable, but potential, I should say, 7-round victory out of BDS, which would knock Rogue out of the competition.
And that was actually the only round where BDS didn't get a plant. The only one. It's just a
Crazy, isn't it?
It's a testament to how well they understood what they were doing. The coordination, what they wanted to achieve. I mean, because it's not just about objective play. You can turn around and say, oh, well, you know, they're just playing for the objective, bro. Because, like, if you compare it to how things are played in North America, which is very objective-focused, it is still different. It is still more aggressive. The fact that they have these kind of peripheral swords spiking out from outside of them that can just slice and slaughter anyone who gets into their path definitely helps. There's a lot of gunning involved. It's not just about the objective. But the fact is everything is still based around utilizing that very swift aggression so that they can make that work for themselves. And it was just consistent. And that's something that Rogue haven't been.
Was that spikes and sword thing like the graceful frog thing again?
I
I could hear you almost laughing to yourself as you were kind of making it up as you went along.
I will, because the thing is like I had this idea of like these bodyguards that were just moving around with like spiky things. But then
spiky things.
I realized as I got to the bit where I had to decide what weapon they were holding, I couldn't decide, so I went with spikes and swords. They're gonna be lightsabers.
Look, your imagination is something else. I shan't question it any further. Don't you worry.
Sucks. I'll just say
apparently less so than mine with the whole bodyguards with spiky swords and things.
All right, well, I'll take it.
We'll let it go. We'll let it go. So let's see how the downstairs fares. And already you're seeing that change I was talking about with BDS compared to Rogue, or really BDS compared to any other team. Keeping that sledge on side, instead sacrificing the Maverick and bringing along the Thermite in its place. So hopefully able to get the wall open much quicker, if not they haven't already. A big focus coming on the upstairs, it appears, looking instead towards getting the piano control they need. Foul second time today, unfortunately. A disconnect coming through. We'll see if they can hold on firm. Shaiko, earlier on, this wasn't a problem. He was like, yum, yum, more kills for me. And they still managed to close the round out. Probably a bit of a big ask here, given they've just changed size, mind you. And of course, it is a different map.
You never know. Still have faith in BDS, at least in this instance. I mean, I know you never want to lose a round for something that wasn't your fault, but it's not going to be the end of the world, even if that is the case. Brede narrowly missing out on that kill, and the C4 isn't going to land either, so that's going to force him to rotate as he doesn't want to be risking his life. Leon, all right, once again, falling down. It's really disappointing as well when he's playing on the Ashe and you really need him for the entry. And it's something that's been spoken about a lot in general recently, is Ashe is just not the sort of operator you can afford to lose so early anymore, given how her gadget really is required to get rid of a lot of the defender utility. Corey does get a kill onto Shaiko though, so that's a very, very high impact kill. I think it's fair to argue, but you know, they still have had a loss themselves.
That breaching round not being there for the Evil Eyes is probably the biggest thing. Normally, if you had a Zofia, fine, you can get away with it. When she's not here and you're relying on frags potentially coming out of the sledge, a little bit unreliable is probably the best way I can look at it. So I'd be very worried about Renshira's Evil Eyes here and the damage that they can cause. Normally paced around the garage area, looking to hold underneath the van to contest you as soon as you try and go for a plant. You can see one just at the bottom there at the white van. Thank you very much, medics. And even now, it's pew-pewing away. No one able to stop it or even destroy it very easily unless you can get Karjeka on top of it.
Well, it's not over yet for Rogue, although it is going to be over for Corey as Renshiro manages to boop him off of the map. Looking in through those Evil Eyes, which, as you so astutely mentioned, aren't really going to be punished now that the Ashe has been very much lost. He's going to do
it. I just want Karjeka to get that sledge around and just slam it, do it.
He's just waiting.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Woo! They're going to try and find someone. No, finds one. Oh, almost found one, but no, they were waiting already. Going to be an instant trade back, mind you, so we did get something from it, but it's not quite enough. Rip's going in for the plant, and there come a couple of kills for Rogue that they needed. Everything's down to the other side, and Aces going to swing things back massively. BDS probably kicking themselves a little bit because for so long there, it looked like they were the ones in control. Just couldn't do enough to close the round out.
I think the death onto Karjeka there took me by surprise just as much as it did him. But obviously, Aces there to clear things up at the end there. Now they are obviously going to be calling for a rehost. We need to bring Rafal back into the game. But yeah, unlike last time that disconnect happened, Rogue actually managed to take the round off of BDS.
Yeah, last time round wasn't so pretty, was it? So, hey, these things happen sometimes. We'll make sure we get back into it nice and rapid for you guys. But how the map's been shaping up, Rogue have looked okay so far in the half. I know we haven't really seen all that much of them so far, but I think it's looked okay in terms of the closing executes. We mentioned earlier on how we saw them play against Chaos. We saw them play against Tempera. It was a little bit scrappy in places. It wasn't really the ideal sort of performance you wanted to see coming out of them, especially coming up against a team like BDS who looked so comfortable on it. So, I don't know. I like what I'm seeing so far, and I hate to keep on harking back to it, but Leon constantly being the first death in these rounds is really hurting Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good because it's one of those things where it's like, if you're... You know, if you get killed off first, fine, it happens, someone has to be. But when it's consistently you, that's where it gets concerning. Because Leon, as good as a gunman as he is known to be, he isn't just an entry player who you just need him to get in and then fine, it doesn't matter so much. He plays actually a decent number of operators with a decent number of roles, a decent number of uses, and always having him go down first is not conducive to success, really, because the likelihood is he's going to have a job to do. Well, I mean, everyone does, but a job to do that has not had the opportunity to be done at that point.
We called out about the Evil Eyes, and that's the main reason why you have him for this site, is when you know there are Evil Eyes lurking, when you know that they're feeding information or preventing you going for a plant, they need to be removed ASAP, but when he's not available to do that, it can come back to bite you. Thankfully, they still managed to close the round out. I know from how Leon's been talking on Twitter, how he's been feeling about himself in general, a lot of his focus is going into shot calling and IGLing lately.
Which is fine.
Maybe that's working just fine for them. And you know what? Maybe a player being the entry player and the IGLing and shot caller is quite difficult. Maybe sometimes it's like, you know what? I'll die so I can do the shot calling. Big brain plays. That is obviously not how he thinks. If anyone thinks like that, oh my God, how are they in Pro League? Imagine.
I'm just having a look at, Rogue's performance on this map in EU League. So as I mentioned, there was that fated game that they played against Chaos. But if we go all the way back to Playday number 2, they actually played Team Empire on this map as well, which they won 7-4. And I was just having a look to see how their defenses and attacks lined up. Rogue took 4 attacking rounds and they took 2 defensive rounds. So despite the fact that we spoke about how Rogue had a really solid defense on Clubhouse earlier, Consulate looks like it's one of those maps where maybe they just feel more comfortable on the attack. And that gives me a bit more faith for this side of the half, because obviously they struggled a decent amount on the first half. And when there is so much to be lost here for Rogue, by losing this map, it's shaky ground. It's not a place that you want to be. So if we're going into the second half and we're thinking, actually, this might be the half that Rogue are better suited to anyway, the hope might still be there. We may get to go to Oregon. It makes me feel a little bit better for them.
I imagine BDS are probably quite thankful if it does end here, going into something like Oregon. They've lost it twice, won it once. Hasn't really been their best map, to be honest with you. Whereas you look at the other side for Rogue, I'd say it's been a bit more comfortable for them.
Yep.
3 games, 3 wins. What more can you really ask for? They're the kind of results that you really want to stick on the board. Referring back to Consulate for a second, though, looking at the attack and defensive win rates across across the map for them, BDS generally perform a little bit better, about 10% higher or so. You've got Rogue sat in the 55, 58 level sort of attack and defense. BDS, on the other hand, are about 66, 68%. So it's a very close game still, but you can see why BDS feel more comfortable coming to this map than maybe they would have going into Clubhouse, although that still turned out to be a win. Now it's just about delivering the end result, which of course would be the 2-0 and knocking Rogue out and sending them home.
Another repeat of site here, but it's not going to be a repeat of compositions on either side, in fact. And what I'm most intrigued by here is Leon's switch off of the Ash, which obviously didn't get any usage in the last round, and onto Twitch. I'm wondering if maybe that's gonna be used onto the Evil Eyes from Renshiro, because obviously when you, as you mentioned before, you don't have a Zephyr. If the Ash is going to go down, you don't really have anything that you can use to get rid of them. Using shock drones is kind of an alternative way of being able to do that, potentially.
I think it's the safe option, because this way Leon hasn't got to expose himself and die. Big brain play. It's almost like when you're saying to someone, look, clearly you are very capable of hurting yourself, so what we're going to do is put you on an operator where you can't hurt yourself anymore. Stay away, play on the shot drone, and kill the gadgets with these.
It's like
all
when
good.
you put like child locks on all the kitchen cabinets and you don't let him hold scissors and things like that.
Exactly.
Put it down, Leon.
It's giving him a safety blanket, okay?
Oh man. Well, he's also giving him the F2 in his hand, so we know this man can gun when he has the chance to stay alive. So could be a really big thing for him. And there we go. Straight away, one of the Evil Eyes is going to be taken down. Shock drone does get lost after that's done, but it's okay. It's done its job, and now he's just got to go after the next one. And once this has been dealt with, assuming it does get dealt with, because they are going to be expecting
Renchiro's waiting.
Yeah, he's ready.
He might win. He might win.
He's waiting.
Who's going to win? Who's going to win? It's a duel. Who's going to win? No. Oh, he got off it. Okay, fine. I was like, he was sat there with that open for so long, just like, right, as soon as it comes in here, I'm shooting it. It's gone. It's dead. Clearly not.
There we go. This is what we like to see, medics. You stay on...
Right. Evil Eye versus Shock Drone. Who cares about operators and guns and explosions?
It's like Robot Wars.
Just give us the gadgets.
It's just
Robot Wars.
It's like Robot Wars, which is... Like...
Hypnodisc was legit.
Oh, I was like... Oh, I don't remember. I remember all their names.
Glorious days, glorious days. 2 kills for BDS. They're living their glory days now. That's Leon, buddy. We spoke about this. You have 2 drones to lose first. I didn't even see him using the second one and still managed to find himself picked off. Rips is down 2. I assume the wall got open. I won't lie. I was so obsessed with what was going on with the drone and the Evil Eye that I didn't even look. I didn't even look at what was happening to the wall. I'm 99% sure they opened it because there was a couple of ways in. Thank you very much, Medics. It is indeed open. Thank you very much.
Nice and open, a nice route in, especially after Aces secures that next kill. I say next kill, it's actually the first kill for Rogue. But yeah, as soon as Aces secures that first kill for Rogue, and that's going to be a lens down, and you can see Rogue starting to collapse in towards the bathroom here. It's all been cleared out.
It has?
There's no one peeing. I was just...
Did you just say that?
So yeah, I said there's no one peeing. Well, because they were looking in the stalls. I was like, there's no one in there, mate. Move along. Well, the thing now that you have to worry about is you've got C4 in the hands of Brede that he's very ready to use. No more frag grenades in the hands of Karjeka either. So when you're looking at projectiles, BDS definitely have the advantage here. And now Rogue have got to inch in towards the site, knowing that that is the case, as well as moving in to a higher man count.
Ace is playing the late game spoiler here, potentially final 15 seconds. Oh, gets caught up by the goo mine though. They'll no doubt have heard that one and know what to do. It's so easy to swing, all too easy for BDS. They knew the split was coming in. They'll close things out in pretty convincing fashion. And although it's been a couple of rounds since they've tasted that sweet taste of victory, BDS will find it, putting themselves at 5-2.
The sweet nectar of success. It is a fountain from which Rogue wish to drink. And so far, they're not having much luck of getting there. It's BDS.
Just the chalice of defeat. Unlucky, I guess.
The chalice of defeat.
That's all it is.
God. All right, I don't know how many more metaphors we can come up with because... I don't know, it's reminding me of GCSE English.
I'm not going to engage in this conversation.
It is reminding me of GCSE English. Given the ones that have come out of your mouth
today.
What's wrong with a periphery of spikes and and what was it?
What about
spikes and swords?
The graceful frog was the other one.
That was a good one.
I'm just...
Graceful was a hyperbolic adjective, and frog is a jumping animal.
I'm fully aware of what a frog is. Thank you very much for explaining that detail to me.
Evidently you didn't get it at the time. I'm just saying.
Okay, let's not. Let's just not. No Amaru attempt being brought by Rogue, so although we've seen BDS, I wouldn't say so much popularize it, but they've adopted it across from the other side of Tempera. Not quite yet managed to spread its way across to the team of Rogue. And I think it's worth touching on BDS's banning history so far in the EUL. They've banned away that Wamai pretty much constantly to the stage a lot of other teams are now starting to copy it, realizing that it makes it far less oppressive, that you don't need as many grenades to be blitzed into a single area of the map to clear out the ADSs as well as the magnets. It makes life a little bit easier for you as the attackers. BDS really hammered it home. Other teams have started following suit. I wonder if Tempera then started the next chain of playing around with things like the Amaru on this map.
It is an interesting change. Well, I say an interesting change as if it's the same team who's doing it, but obviously it's an interesting difference in playstyle. Leongid's obviously back on the Ash, which was a bit risky before as he got taken down very early, so that's going to be a big goal of his. Stay alive, get to use your utility. Okay, straight away, there's a breach charge. That's going to be removing a castle barricade. Nice. Rafal's going to be hiding just behind it still, waiting to catch anyone out who may move in towards the site. But still, gunfire going off everywhere else, and that's going to be pushing Shaiko back from the yellow stairs.
Understandably, the big focus is on yellow stairs. Here, you either take admin or you put the focus on yellow stairs and use that as your staging ground to go for a plant normally through the windows into console. Trying to force him back is the #1 objective, or ideally, kill him out. You still got those 2 frag grenades on side. You've expended through a good chunk of your grenades, mind you. 8 of those flashbangs now gone. So now's about the time to start thinking about weaving them through. Aces doing well to keep the drone alive, but finally picked off inside a piano. A question that sticks in my mind is how much time they spend investing into getting through onto yellow stairs. You got 1 or 2 looking to set up now onto the windows. So these pieces of the execute are starting to come together. I swear to God, we saw that. Did we see that castle wall broken open, the one on the double door? I'm well confused. It's still there, apparently. Heaven knows. Leon's still going to find 2 kills for himself. Or was it more in the middle where he got it?
No, it was that one. Maybe he kept one
Maybe he saved one in the back pocket and reinforced it.
I mean, Rafal did hang around in that area. Brede's going to be hanging around in the bathroom. Gets the kill onto Leongids, but can't quite secure the next one. We are getting confirmation that he did have one extra, but yeah. disgusting aces falling. This is a 2 versus 2. Bride is very, very low on health.
The thing is, Corey's got to commit to the plant here, so it's only Rips by himself if they choose to go for that, making it a very small, a very brief disadvantage for the attacking side, but a disadvantage nonetheless. And they've still got these cameras to play behind. They know what's going on, so now's the time to start shocking away. Going to go for it. Manages to bait it out as well. Oh my god, it's going to be a horrific dance. C4's ready below. Going to find it for free. Talk about a bait, my friend. He is living in that head rent-free. 2 versus 1. Rips entirely by himself. There's one downstairs. There's evil eyes everywhere. He's got to get the diffuser back. This is a lot of work to do inside 35 seconds. BDS will put themselves 1 round away from knocking out Europe's #1 team in Rogue. I can't believe it has come down to that on just the first day.
And how many times has Rips found himself in this similar situation? But obviously the Evil Eyes are still going to be there working against him. He's got to move out the way. Still failing to find Bride and Alems. And as you say, this is so close for BDS to be getting to match point. He's going to have a go at placing down the diffuser, but the members of BDS remaining do know where he is. They're going to be taking the shots, but he gets the blunt in. There's the trade out. It's going to be very easy for them to, of course, do the disable. So close. And as you say, Derry, this puts us not only onto match point, but match point, and also the point that could send Rogue home.
Rips has got to be heartbroken. 3rd time today he's found himself in a 1vx, and always a single kill away from closing it out, but just not quite able to get over the finish line. Back on the last map, Gio, we said, imagine if those 2 1vxs had been won. Those final kills had gone the way of Rips. That would have been a very different story. It would have been Rogue coming out as the map 1 victors. Here, they are a single round away from being sent home early. After what has been a prolific season, they accelerated into the second half. Everyone came into this saying, oh man, this is definitely Rogue's tournament. Rogue or G2 in the final. No one's 100% sure of which way it goes, but now, my god, has everyone's predictions, as included, been thrown into disarray.
Oh man, this is crazy. And I think even when we go back to the beginning of this game and we see what the viewer predictions were, what our predictions were, the way people have been talking about these teams leading up to the EU Major, the fact so many people have had so much faith in Rogue says everything you need to know about what we've seen from these players over time. Not just stage 1 of the EU League, but even looking back in the histories of their careers, despite some of the slightly muddying performances of Rogue in past events, people still believe they have it in them. They came first in stage 1.
5 seconds remaining.
The same for Pro League Season 11. Everyone thought they could show up, and still it's looking like they're struggling, and BDS are so close to stamping that into the ground and proving, yeah, they're struggling, and it's because of us.
I had Virtus Pro being down as the team that were going home at the start of this day. I thought they'd be the first ones knocked out. BDS would be second. It would be G2 versus Rogue Grand Final. What a flipperoo we are experiencing here. 2.5 minutes standing between BDS and victory, between Rogue and going home, and spending the rest of this weekend, no doubt, watching the major when they could have been the ones playing in it. Let's see how this final site plays out. You got Corey creeping around the top floor, lobby and piano site, by the way, just looking to catch someone out, and I have a feeling Shaiko isn't 100% sure that someone's up here right now. Renshiro neither's being awfully casual about this. Could get themselves caught out if they're not careful. But for Corey, staying alive here is the big deal. Still got 2 edges in his back pocket. I'd like to see him get them down, because you never know how useful they will be coming into the latest stages of these rounds, and that seems to be the focus for now. Good call.
Yeah, there you go. Both of them now been put up, so at least that has been confirmed and laid down for them, and he can focus now on other things, knowing that that utility has been expended. Sending in the flashes here, wanting to get rid of anything like an ADS that may be lying around. Renshiro has taken some damage already. You mentioned earlier that he was playing very casually almost, not really looking too uncomfortable, and I can imagine a lot of the members of BDS are feeling confident, but you can't let it slip and you can't let that get to you. Some damage coming in. Rafal did have the smoke canister ready to throw, but decided otherwise for now, but that control is still being held there onto Bathroom.
A lot of clearance work. It's a lot of upstairs focus to kick things off, as you'd expect out of Rogue. The IQ on the top floor. Corey was hanging up here earlier on, as we saw. Now playing downstairs out towards Visa. Both starting to converge on the spiral staircase. Renshiro opening things up onto Rips. That's the thermite gun of all things. Not a pleasant situation to be in. Leon also finding himself collected. Renshiro, we mentioned him already earlier on. A massive map one earlier on in their last series. It's stepping up yet again here. Bride finds another, and no doubt the conviction they had is falling away from them. Aces, the man who's had a terrible game, a terrible day, it all slips away from them, and like that, BDS take it, Rogue go home, #1 in Europe, but absolutely the last place team here at the major. What an outcome.
That happened in the absolute blink of an eye, and I think it just is so representative of what this major has been here for Rogue. It was all in front of them. Everything could have been theirs. And in the blink of an eye, in the space of one day, they have lost it all. And they are the first team to be eliminated from the EU 2020 August major. Absolutely great showing from BDS after a difficult game against G2. And they continue to move forward in the competition.
Man, that is going to be so heartbreaking. I know full well they are all going to be on Twitter after this feeling really sorry for themselves. And fair play, boys. After such a great season, we all thought we'd see a little bit more. But we mentioned today the things that were going wrong. Aces being super quiet. Leon losing opening kill after opening kill after opening kill. Poor Rips. My heart breaks for him most of all. The number of potential clutches that just didn't go his way. Today was a day that Rogue did not look like the team that we have seen for most of the split, and other teams just had their number. They knew exactly what to do, and now they're out and they've gone home. I still can't believe I'm saying those words, but there are a lot of words no doubt to come out of our analyst desk. Let's throw over to them and get their thoughts on what has been no doubt one of the most shocking series so far.
Thanks so much, guys. And yes, our heart does rip apart for Rips through this series. There were so many moments where he could have done so much, but then it's these small things that really hit the hardest. Rogue, #1 team in the region, coming out of stage 1, #1 team out of the EU major. Unfortunate, but the highlight is how prepared BDS are against anybody to play against. G2 is kind of the next level boss at this point.
I'll let Tim take it. Sorry, it's the joy of online. I think both of us were too polite. Shouldn't get two people from the UK at the same time. Tim, you go.
Ultimately, I think, we did come into this saying it was a concern for Rogue not to start on the attack. We know that they've struggled with it so far, but BDS were just so dominant against G2 on the attack, and that Amaru pick came through in the early rounds once again and give BDS all the lead that they needed to come through and take that one. Tough day for Rogue. At the end of it, we don't want to see anybody lose. Somebody has to. We don't want to see these teams going home after 2 losses, but ultimately, Rogue, you're the unlucky ones today.
Rogue at the end of seasons, Rogue on these majors, it's becoming a bit of an unfortunate trend, which is obviously one that was before, but you obviously look at how they're prepping and look at how it could be compared to how it used to be. Obviously, they've got a different support staff, they've got a different kind of structure going on, a different roster too, but here it's just those other game day problems where they seem to not be able to show up with the same tenacity when the pressure's on. Something isn't quite clicking there. They know that they can work on this. They know what they're capable of. They'll be back, but unfortunately today it just wasn't their day.
And let's say it out there, outside of European Open Clash, this is the biggest showing, at least the biggest show that Rogue played in. Of course, the organization invested in the squad. They definitely have lived up to the expectation to make it to the major. However, performance today was just not up to par with what we expect from Rogue. That's something that we will probably look deeper into come stage 2 of EU League. They'll have the time to prepare for that, but right now BDS, big winners, big plays. I don't even know how this would be, because to be honest, like G2 Virtus Pro, I'm just gonna tease it. I think this is gonna be like a BDS VP in the lower bracket, maybe, perhaps, potentially. I think that would be a pretty sweet game that is pretty difficult to call, but BDS, let's be honest, they got what it takes. They definitely showed it today.
They were hot. There's no question about it. Get them on Consulate, especially, and I would put money on it that they're not going to play Consulate tomorrow, because whoever they go up against probably isn't going to allow them to. Although G2 did have a good showing against them, I just feel like there's going to be that undercurrent for G2 where they feel like, actually, we don't want to take our chances with BDS on Consulate once again. They've just shown that they're a great team on there. Take them somewhere else. Anybody who plays them, just take them somewhere else.
I think it's something that you said before this as well when we come into this map ban, was that when they're up against G2, BDS in a way lost the map ban because their pool is quite short. They know what they do it very, very well, but it's a default set of maps. They were pushed a little bit out of their comfort zone onto Theme Park. It showed. Here was a selection of 3 bread and butter, comfortable, well, baguette and butter, comfortable maps for them, and they lived it. They knew exactly where they needed to be, where they needed to be there. They could be creative in this space with the Amaru that was consistent, and they were a different team.
All right, well, we're looking at our interview in just a moment here, just preparing things. Will be with Alems, but unfortunately we won't have his camera. So just letting everybody know of more details on that very, very soon. But takeaways from this, highlight players from BDS, Tim.
Alems had a great day today, there's no question. It's going to be interesting to hear what he has to say, but for me, Renshiro could well be the unsung hero there. He's had some huge moments, very nearly opened up Theme Park with an ace. It wasn't enough against G2, unfortunately, for BDS today, but with those Amaru players as well, really dominated on Consulate. And so for me, Renshiro's really shown up, as has Shaiko in that last matchup. We saw much more from him, much more of what we would expect to see.
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at expectations, Shaiko did step up quite a bit. There was a couple of rounds where he was living at that full pace and full kind of power, and you have this concept of, okay, you know, now you're finding some fire. Yeah, we didn't quite have obviously Breeday to the level of what the seasonal Breeday was, but it's honeymoon periods. It's developing a team in Siege. It's a team game, and we know that they're a well-driven team sometimes.
Well, let's pull back to this on BDS's defensive rounds overall between Clubhouse and Consulate, but specifically on Consulate, how they played the Maestros so effectively for information. We talk about the information game in Siege pretty much every time there's a show, and yet the way that BDS were running the Maestro, collecting that info and being such a pain to deal with, is an exemplary way to show off how this operator and information gathering in general works on the defense with a team working together.
It was interesting to see there was a round where there was a rogue attack onto Garage, and I want to give Kojeka a little bit of a shout out for this, because it was a heads up play where he dropped the hatch in the last 15 seconds and moved in to clear out and challenge that Maestro in cafeteria, and it just shows there was a specific plan there from Rogue purely to deal with exactly that problem, the information and the plant denial ability of those Maestro cams, and Kojeka executed it beautifully. He was shut down by Alems, but I'm pretty sure that he still managed to interfere to just disrupt that Maestro and the game that was coming out of the back there. But yeah, very, very influential operator today. We saw that top floor console take where it just completely shut down. Poor Rips, I think it was, that was just running backwards and forwards between sites, and he was just constantly on camera, constantly getting zapped by the Maestros. It was a tough day to play against Maestro.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things that, sorry, I'm distracted by us in the interview coming soon.
It's all right.
I'm trying to think of questions now for Alems that make me sound smart, because I'm next to Tim and he's very smart. When you're
Don't worry, I'm here. I kind of balance it out. I'm hungry.
When you're looking at them in terms of a team, obviously, when you're thinking about, obviously, the question of, can you pull an operator out of this equation? Can you stop what BDS were doing? A lot of it for me was very clever on the cuff moments. I think the best one to individually highlight for that was the Maestro plant, where they baited it, and then that gave Alems enough time underneath to get the C4 in place. And I think even if you did start to crutch them, if they're on a map they're comfortable with, that is a bigger swing than if there's an operator removed from a pool they're uncomfortable with. Like, that is, for me, the aspect where their play becomes the strongest, is if they have Alems doing these calls, if they have the guns firing in place, they can work these very well.
All right, guys, we are indeed ready for our interviews, so let's toss it over. Let's have a quick chat with Lems.
Hello.
Hello, bonsoir Lems, how are you doing?
Je vais bien. I'm good.
Tu vas bien, ouais. Parfait, parfait. It's a very good evening, honestly. You guys had a tough game against G2. Let's talk about that for just a second before we kind of narrow things down into your game versus Rogue. Theme Park, in general, doesn't seem you're super comfortable with. Any reasons from your end, from your own experience?
Yeah, we after this Invitational, we decided to work on Theme Park. It didn't go well on the second part of the season 11. Mm-hmm. And for this major and the fact that we bring BDS inside the team, we were like, okay, we're gonna try again. So we had like a decent time of practice, maybe not the best, but some times of practice before this major. Unfortunately for us, G2 played it very good. They did something that we never see on practice. Like, when we played Theme Park, like the teams we played, they were only opening like a maintenance wall or yellow wall, but G2 opened 2, so it was kind of, surprising, and we weren't ready for it.
Yeah, on a map like Theme Park, it can small things that can surprise you can slow you down way more than people would just imagine, just because of the map design itself. Consulate, though, seemed to be way more comfortable for you. We saw that in G2. In the interview with Uno, he said that G2 were in control, but the rounds that you were taking on your attacking side were very well planned and were very comfortable with that. And tying in with your game versus Rogue, you start off on the attacking side, Rogue picked the defense. You were very comfortable in that. And even though that was your map pick, Rogue were the ones that picked the side. Were you kind of, were you expecting them to play defense first? Was it something you wanted them to go for?
I don't know. I think it depends on the teams, but on Consulate, some teams prefer to defend, some teams prefer to attack. We prefer to attack, G2 as well. And yeah, we are kind of surprised that Rogue pick defense, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. That's something I've been hearing quite often recently. Well, Mai, definitely up on the board for you guys in terms of bans. Understandable for so many maps, for Consulate specifically. If you just want to make yellow a bit harder for the defenders, understandably. But Clubhouse was very close between you and Rogue, and there was a lot of back and forth rounds on there. I just want to hear it from you. How was it? Was it your preparation for Clubhouse? Was it Rogue just being able to read you through the map that made it a bit more difficult?
So I won't lie, when we started the match against G2, we were kind of sleepy. So we started the match, we are almost not talking. I mean, we were communicating, but we were kind of sleepy. We were not pushing each other to make plays. We were not communicating in a good way, I think. We were, like I said, sleepy. After this match, obviously we lost, so it's a tough loss. So we were kind of disappointing about ourselves. Yep. But I just talk. I take I made a speech, if I can say, and I said, guys, okay, it's only one match. The way we played here against G2, they play good, but we played bad. We were sleepy, not communicating. We need to step it up, and I'm very happy because that's what we did against Rogue. They picked Clubhouse. This is, I think, their best map in the entire map pool. And I was like, okay, guys, it will be hard, but we know how to play Clubhouse. We have some stuff prepared for them, so let's do it. And it works. And the communication was there. We were putting headshots. So yeah, in this scenario, everything goes well.
Yeah, Shaiko is definitely playing up today, which is where you need to see him to beat a team like Rogue, as you're saying, on their best map on Clubhouse. To be honest, I would like to be present for one of those pep talks, like Leonidas style, LM's prep talks, BDS, what is your profession? It's just Shaiko firing with an R4C or something. That'd be amazing to one day be part of. But LMs, you're victorious at the end of the day. You'll be able to move through and survive so far in the EU Major. You face off against the loser of Virtus Pro versus G2. Any expectations for your upcoming game?
I don't know. I think we will just take the match like we took the match against Rogue. We're just gonna focus on ourselves, look what they did during the past major, because the teams change some stuff compared to EUL season. So we're just gonna take the match normally. We are going just to play a good siege the game. That's it.
Any which team do you expect to play in the lower bracket?
Oh, I don't know. I would say VP because G2 looks very strong, to be honest.
All right, fair enough. LM's victorious at the end. Anything you'd like to say to all the BDS and the French fans out there?
Yeah, I would like to thanks all the fans and you for the casting and the interview, of course. And yeah, can I speak in French?
Oh, bien sûr, s'il te plaît, I'll translate.
Ok, merci à tous ceux qui nous soutiennent dans la victoire comme dans la défaite. On vous voit, merci beaucoup. Et puis voilà, on fera tout pour vous rendre fiers. Et puis voilà, merci encore, merci à tous.
All right, so as Alanis was saying, thank you for supporting us through thick and thin. We're very proud that you're representing us and that we're representing you in the league, and we're going to give it our best for tomorrow. Alems, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much again for the interview. Congratulations on your victory against Rogue. Cannot wait to see you playing tomorrow in our second match. Until then, bonne nuit les amis. Bye-bye.
Bonne nuit. Au revoir.
I always remember that old French TV show like Bonne nuit les amis, and it's just Nounours that's going to sleep.
I don't think that got to the UK.
No, it's like a bear and the Petit Prince, like a prince kind of thing. Yeah. So people know about it. Alems definitely knows about this.
I mean, you're talking about a French kids show. I would assume Alems would have a better idea. I bet production.
Look,
are like,
let's be honest.
We know exactly
Fluke,
what Milos is talking about.
Fluke, everybody says, UK massive.
Yeah.
It's literally 4 UK talent with 2 mainland Europeans. What are you talking about? You guys talk about your whatever stuff, and we barely understand what you're saying anyway. Listen.
Yeah, well, that's hey. Production, I'm assuming they've had a very good day. They apparently, we were talking before, and they got a lot behind BDS. I think because it's a French team, they very much went, okay, we're a studio in France. Not to say that they're biased at all. They can't pull the outcome, but
the French casters definitely were enjoying it.
Well, that's it. I'm glad to see that the French community is showing up for them. I can only imagine the environment right now that they've got in the studio.
Tim.
It's been a lot of fun, hasn't it?
I
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great day for the French fans. There's absolutely no question about it. BDS keep fighting. They're going to head into a big matchup tomorrow, whichever way it goes. And honestly, for my money, we could still see them in the final yet. Don't sleep on BDS.
Don't sleep on BDS. Wise words that were said by a certain Caliber Jacob, who ended up taking a pretty big nap today on BDS. So I didn't check for game 2, but there it is. Anyways, Ace, Fluke, thank you so much for being here. For the rest of the talent team, of course. We had a lot of fun today. It was day 1. It's unfortunate that we don't get to all work together at the studio. We'll have loved to have you, Ace, on for the first time, and everybody around again at the studio. It was a very amazing time when we were there for APAC, but currently things are a bit more difficult, and we'd like everybody to stay safe. Priority number 1 is the health of staff and talent, making sure that everybody can come back and, give us a better show also in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first day of the EU Major. Saturday and Sunday are coming up. If you have any feedback, please make sure to tweet that at us. Go on the subreddit, tell us what you liked, what you disliked, and we hope that we'll have the time to integrate things into the show and make things better for you. In the end, it is your show, and we're here to entertain you. So let us know what you think about it. That said, Fluke, Ace, final words, preparation for tomorrow. Go ahead.
Are you? Sorry, I'm going to stop. Are Tim beating Happen predictions right now? Whew. Is that
wouldn't be the first time?
Is Tim 100%? Is this? We've got another project.
No, I'm not 100%.
Okay.
I went with Rogue this morning. But
66.
so did Hap. So I think I should be winning.
Yeah, Hap saying 83%. So
yeah, but he's including APAC there. If we just talk, I wasn't on APAC, so if we're just talking about the EU, I got 2 right.
There it is.
There it is.
Hello.
Hey, Gio.
Gio.
I love some fun.
I'm not even 83%.
We're both just sat here zonking out as well.
That was unexpected for Gio. Still muted. Still got herself muted.
Brilliant. Well done, Gio.
I was reading on my other monitor. I was reading news.
Let's be honest. Des, for an EU show, was right about something. Oh my God. What is going on with the world? I mean,
2 out of 3.
Fresh.
Not a bad
Fresh,
start.
are you listening right now? Something's up.
I mean, it's not a coincidence that it's the one time he agreed with me, though. So.
Oh, shut up, Ace.
He's just following. He's just, you know.
Love the banter, mate. Love the banter.
Yeah, stop, Milosh. Don't try.
Hey,
Come on,
he's
man. I
doing
can't
his
even.
best.
Yeah,
There's a reason why production. There's a reason why you've got Milosh and Hap to one side and all the UK lot on the other.
I like this.
Okay,
can speak
stay in your lane,
languages.
boy.
You know, we can understand you when you talk. We can talk in languages you wouldn't. So.
Yeah, that's true.
This is actually just one.
I don't need to be understood, mate. I just need to be
Then
loved.
again,
I don't ask for a
British
lot.
Dutch is
English.
not a language.
Yeah. Tim and I are actually just in one shot right now. Actually, the background goes all the way up. It's just cut.
He's like,
It's
his
like
bunk
arms on
beds.
the other shoulders.
Yeah, it's like bunk beds we've got. It's nice that we can still do this without being in the studio. I was very sad I wouldn't be able to derail the serious topics that you guys bring.
The hardest thing is, people don't always know this, but there's a really it's half a second
Yeah,
delay.
that's true.
The amount of delay it adds is really weird in the strangest
like
of
it.
It's
ways.
like,
It will be.
it's like,
Silence.
it just, we can have our own version of Des is like a potato. We have the opportunity to do it
brown
again.
Tim's a
Possum.
tic tac. I'm a brown possum. Okay, Tim is the. Did you hear that
He's a
earlier, by the way?
tic-tac.
Someone called Tim a sodden tic tac. Someone called him.
A sodden tic-tac.
I don't even know what
Was
that
he been
means.
out
I
in the
really
rain?
laughed. A sodden tic tac.
Okay,
Oh my
guys.
My
God.
favorite
Kids.
was like,
Yes.
yes? No, my
Yes,
favorite
sir.
was, oh, how did they book Pitbull?
All right, this is getting out of hand, guys. Thank you so much for this evening. I didn't hear that Super was transferring to EU, but there he is. He's in the talent team. Guys, thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow in how long? There it is. It's around 3 p.m. CST. That's when we'll be back. You'll see with game number 1, G2 versus Virtus Pro. Super hyped for that. After that, loser of the game will go on to play against BDS. That's still on tomorrow. Thank you again. We love you. Good night.
Nice shot for me! Perfect!
Defender is approaching. Drop the bomb diffuser. 10 seconds left. 15 seconds remaining. Just dropped it. Attackers, defender has left the area. Attack. Drop the bomb. The area of op. Defender has left the area. 5 seconds remaining.
Attackers recover. 10 seconds left. Attackers drop.
Attackers recovered the diffuser. 5 seconds.
Drop the bomb. 5.
Defender has left. Ender exposed. Attackers are activating the diffuser.